All right, aloha, fellow dreamers, and welcome to another very special Druid and Mystic Dream Discussion Circle. My name is Brendon, aka Mystic Spider-Man, and of course, I am co-hosting this with my partner, my fellow dreamer, my girlfriend, my lover, Lacey, aka Paper Druid. So shout out to Lacey, who is with us in the circle here today, amongst other amazing fellow conscious creators and spiritual seekers here within the circle. And shout out to them real quick if you guys just want to say hello to the camera and wave to the camera. We've got Kyle, we've got Lacey, as I said, we've got Maya, we've got Helena, we've got Alicea, and yeah, we're gonna have some more people joining us into the circle as we get going. We'll just do a quick introduction, and then from there we'll get into the core of today's discussion. So for those of you who may not be entirely familiar, the Paradigm Shift Central Dream Discussion Circle, the Druid and Mystic Dream Discussion Circle, this is an iteration of many conscious circles that we have hosted through the Paradigm Shift Central project, which again is a community of being able to bring together conscious creators and spiritual seekers. And back in 2015, we started a version of the podcast, which was known as Dream Class. There's episodes of that that you can go back and check out. I think there's over 30 recordings. And that really came from, my own personal interest in wanting to be able to help create space for people to be able to talk about dreams. And the fact is, these discussions related to dreams don't really happen very often. Like, how often just within your day-to-day life are you talking to people out in public about dreams and dream practices and our nature as multidimensional beings and our stories and our experiences and our quest towards lucidity? So creating the space for people to be able to talk about dreams and to explore these questions was something that I always felt to be very important. So we've continued this over the years, and about a few months ago, as Lacey and I moved into a new chapter within our life, and now we're living in the same household, we wanted to be able to create another version of the dream intentional space. And that's where Druid and Mystic Dream Discussion Circles arose. Now, the Druid and Mystic Dream Discussion Circles, these are a very intentional space that for the past while we have been doing just for our Paradigm Shift Patreon members. And the Patreon membership, again, that's our $11 monthly membership. And with that, you guys have been able to get access to our Druid and Mystic Dream Discussion Circles that for the past while we were doing on Saturdays. The schedule for that's going to change a bit. Lacey's, again, as her schedule is changing, we're going to start opening up new time schedules for the Dream Discussion Circle. But again, this is one that we are doing as a special live broadcasted format. So this is a chance for people who may not be Patreon members to be able to just not only enjoy, but to also to be able to get a little bit of an insight as to what this circle is like, how it can support you. And if this is something that you're interested in, to be able to help invite you to be able to connect onto the Patreon, consider joining as a Patreon membership. And then again, continuing to take part in future Dream Discussion Circles, where those will be non-broadcasted, but still recorded for our members. So there's actually about four or five of the ones that Lacey and I have hosted that are already online right now. And again, by signing up on the Patreon, you guys will immediately get access to that. And there's some really good discussion and awesome stories, particularly some really trippy stories that Lacey has shared in that. But amongst everyone else, there's been some really great discussion there. So feel free to go back and check out the Dream Class podcast. Those are all online. That's free. That's stuff that we've done years before. And then also, again, the Patreon is where you can get access to future ongoing events, including the Dream Discussion Circle and many more. Plus, you guys get to support something that, again, serves the community, and we really appreciate your support. So thank you to our Patreon supporters, and thank you to everyone for your support in all forms. So as we get going with this, we'll be keeping an eye on the YouTube chat. So thank you to those of you in the YouTube chat. You guys are a part of today's discussion as well. And again, the intention for this is to be able to create a space for us to talk about dreams and to be able to support each other. I think, again, dreams are something that we're not encouraged to practice our dreams. There's nothing that I'm seeing in mainstream media that's even remotely prompting us to pay attention to our dreams. If anything, they're trying to disconnect us from our dreams. In the same way, without getting too much into this discussion, you can just kind of look at things in a broad picture and be like, oh, it seems as if they're kind of trying to remove us from our connection to spirit. And that can be, through our connection to food, through nature, through breath. But more importantly, right now, it's also, again, through the practice of dreaming. Dreaming is one of the most immediate ways for us to be able to connect with spirit and spirituality and that curiosity of being able to understand that there is more to this reality than meets the eye. And dreaming, long story short, is one of the most immediate things that we can experience and dive into and practice that really opens us up to this deeper understanding of the fact that we are multidimensional beings, and we'll explore a little bit more about what that means. So again, dreams are a super fascinating topic. There's no limit to where it can take us. And again, within this circle, we hope to be able to help create discussion that will inspire us, and then also to be able to create accountability and to be able to share wisdom and to support each other and to come back to these circles and to be able to share our progress and practice sharing our stories. So that's the benefit of taking part in these dream discussion circles. It's not just doing it once, it's coming back in a couple weeks and doing it again and having that support network and that continuation, and having community as a dreamer is one of the most important things. So thank you again, everyone, for being a part of the dream discussion circle that we have here today. So I'll pass it over to Lacey just to be able to share any like welcome introduction. Sometimes in the past ones that we have done this, like it would be like Lacey and I on the same couch and we'd be like super chill and hanging out, and you guys will see this in the recording for the members. Today it's just a little bit different. Lacey's hanging out in the other room, enjoying the bed to herself, and we're still just doing it in regular format, but hence why I'll pass it over to Lacey, who is on her camera, and just give her a chance to, and from here we'll just get Lacey to just kind of give a general introduction, and then we'll go into meditation, and then we'll come back and we'll go through an introduction formally with everybody here as well in terms of our relationship to dreams and everything like that. So Lacey, go ahead and I'll pass it over to you, and any just like welcome message and introduction you want to be able to share for today's dream discussion circle. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Happy to have another dream discussion on a Thursday evening. Yeah, so I guess my introduction, which I've done a million times already, but I've been, I guess, an active dreamer and practicing since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. So I don't even know how long that is now. That's over 20 years. And recording my dreams since I was around 10. So I've always been very in touch with that part of myself. And it's really, really opened my mind to, like Brendon said, like my connection to spirit and getting to know myself better. So I know that these circles have benefited me greatly as a dreamer. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here and to share and to hear other people's stories and wisdom. Definitely to hold myself accountable as a practicing dreamer. And yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here tonight. So
Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, some of you might have seen the post. Like, I mean, Lacey and I, like when we like first met, like decades ago or whatever it was, dreams were one of the first things that we would always talk about. Like she, I'd be like, whoa, like you're a dreamer, like let's talk about this, because it wasn't something that a lot of people were talking about, and we felt like we were like speaking a language that not everyone knew. And so I'm like, about lucid dreaming? And she would tell me stories and I would tell her stories. And again, it's beautiful to just see more people interested in the dream discussion. So yeah, Lacey, look how far we've come. Look at what we've created. It's pretty cool. So hi, Candice. Welcome, Candice. We're just getting things started, and then we're going to go around with introductions in a moment. So
okay. I was going to say that I'm just really happy to have some other avid dreamers here as well tonight. So Helena and Maya, two amazing people that I've had dream connections with. So this is exciting. I'm excited to see where the discussion goes. So,
me too.
Yeah.
And one of the things we are going to kind of be getting into exploring like some of like becoming self-aware of some of the themes that happen within dreams. So it'll be neat to kind of like cross-reference and find common connections and threads that we have as dreamers. And the idea of like shared dreams is something I'm sure we'll be able to talk a bit about tonight as well. So stay tuned, lots more paradigm shifting discussion to come. So Lacey, anything else before we get into the next part? Perfect. All right. So thank you again, Lacey. And you can find Lacey at the Paper Druid on Instagram. And again, all the links for today's featured creators on air, you'll find those in the information on YouTube. So after the broadcast, go follow everyone. Like everybody here is an awesome creator and an individual. And again, just feel free to reach out and support. And through the information on YouTube, you'll also find the link for our Discord server, for our Patreon. And feel free to send me a direct message if you guys want to reach out to me. And we also do have my PayPal link where if you guys want to contribute any any single donations as a tip, that's always super appreciated as well. So with that said, let's just drop into a very short meditation, just to kind of like bring ourselves into that heart space, even though I already feel like we're pretty much there. So it'll just be like a very, very short one. And then from there, we'll go around with formal, just kind of like introductions, and then we'll get into our first question prompt from there. So thank you again, everyone. And thank you again to those of you on YouTube. And yeah, let's just take a moment here to just be able to do a little bit of a meditation. So, so for everybody here, just allow yourself, maybe just kind of like wiggle your body a little bit and just find a place where you can just arrive into a place of stillness, into a place of softness. And just take this moment to just be able to connect with your breath. Soft, gentle inhales and soft, gentle exhales. As we breathe here, if you want, you can gently even just place your hand over your heart and just opening up our imagination, a very important theme within dreams, and just kind of imagining all of us just like being in the presence of each other. Imagine us sitting in this circle, this space within space. Imagine us just kind of hanging out in the astral realms, in the realm of the imagination, in the realm of spirit. And just take a moment here as we just visualize all of us sitting in this circle, and we just see each other, and we just arrive into the space of gratitude. And just take a moment to be able to just acknowledge and express gratitude for all the other amazing people here, seeing them as a fractal of yourself, seeing them as another part of the dream awakening to itself, the fellow journeyers, the fellow travelers, the souls continuing to awaken. So just take a moment here, just in brief silence, just connect into this moment of oneness. I'll stop talking, just allow yourself to be able to express gratitude from your heart and just be able to receive this gratitude in return as we get excited about sharing in today's circles. Just take a moment here as you connect with your breath. Go ahead. And as you just be in this space within your heart, take a moment here. If you had the chance to just be able to say one thing to everybody here, everybody listening, related to dreams and dream practices, something that would inspire their spirit, what would you say to them right now? What do you say to them right now? Take a moment to just listen to your heart, whatever arises. Just reflect on that. Beautiful. And just continuing to maintain this space of gratitude as we carry this vibration with us into today's discussion, holding this image in our mind as we continue to just feel the presence of each other and sharing in this excitement. And slowly from here, with gratitude in our heart, gently we will begin to bring awareness back to our physical body. And when you're ready, slowly you can wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and gently open your eyes and return your awareness to the space around you. Beautiful. Awesome. And for those of you, even in the YouTube chat or even in the Zoom chat, if you guys want to share or even during your introduction what your message was for the people in the circle, feel free to type that into the chat as well. And we're keeping an eye on the YouTube chat. So with that said, we'll get things started here. And with today's discussion, we'll be aiming to wrap it up by about 10 p.m. So we got about 90 minutes to really dive in deep. And we'll just be mindful of the time. And yeah, just be mindful as we pass the talking stick around. So we'll go through just with a quick introduction for everybody here, and basically just kind of saying, like where are you at as a dreamer? You can talk a bit about, your personal experiences as a dreamer, and again, anything else that you just want to share to briefly introduce yourself in the context of dream practice. I'll just go first. Again, dreams are something I've been fascinated with probably since I really started getting into it probably about like 2009, 2010, when I went to a presentation and at the library all about astral projection. And that was like the first time that I blatantly heard someone just like so confidently just say like, you are a multidimensional being, and every night when you go to sleep, your body, your astral body, travels into another dimension. And like, to hear someone so blatantly say that was so powerful. And then I kind of got introduced to astral projection and lucid dreaming through the practice of like Gnosticism, Gnostic teachings, which again are kind of like finding the common threads between many spiritual religions. And then, so, you know, even just kind of like getting into that, and just kind of getting really curious and starting to look up stuff about lucid dreaming on YouTube. There wasn't a lot of it back then. But then just knowing that so much of it was relative to the direct experience, and then seeking that experience, getting into my own practices, getting into my journaling. I've had plenty of like super vivid, prophetic, like crazy psychedelic dreams. However, where I'm at right now, I can legitimately say that, you know, for me, like having this dream discussion circle is something that I hold very important, because it's easy to let it slip when it comes to dream practice, which is why community is so important. Right now, if I were to put myself on a scale of like how good my recall is, my recall right now, it's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 on a good day. And that's fully my responsibility. And that's the thing with dream practice, is that it takes a lot of willpower, and having that support is so important. But, you know, like, it's something where just coming out of this, I want to be able to like make those little tweaks within my habits to be able to begin focusing more within my dreams. Yeah, I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, right now I'm definitely kind of, again, probably in a position that a lot of people can relate to, where I'm not super engaged with my dreams. I wake up and then like my recall's there for a second and then it's gone. But I do definitely want to be able to connect deeper with my dreams, because I know there's a lot there for me to be able to explore and discover, and be able to learn from other fellow dreamers here tonight. So that's my brief introduction. Lacey, you kind of already introduced yourself. Do you want to just like, is there anything else you just want to introduce yourself to, related to like, even just, or maybe even just share like, where are you at currently within your dream practice? And then from there, again, we'll just kind of keep passing it around. So Lacey, go ahead and go next. Who wants to go after Lacey? If I can just get a hand up real quick. Or whoever wants. Candice, okay, we'll pass it over to Candice, and then after that, we'll pass it over to whoever else after that. So go ahead, Lacey. Just another check-in where you're at, and anything else.
For sure. So yeah, like for me, I think I'm always kind of in a space, I'm always listening to my dream time. But just like anyone else, I do ebb and flow with recall and consistency. I am 5.5 months pregnant right now, so my dreams are quite vivid, quite interesting, a little strange, more strange than usual, I'll say, which we can get into later with like themes and all of that. But I know that my dreams are telling me something. So my recall has been, you know, I haven't been writing them down, and I normally write my dreams down, but I have been paying attention to a lot of the symbolism and all of that. So I would say my recall is like a 6 currently, for dream time. But yeah, I would say it's been fun and interesting, and I always like to share them with Brendon in the morning. I'm like, like last night was strange, and like for me, I would say my dreams are pretty out there to begin with, but like this is strange in a different way. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of that later. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been interesting.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I know a lot of people, even before we did the broadcast, some people were like asking, they're like, for you, Lacey, and just in general, be like, oh, like, do your dreams change when you're pregnant? So, like I said, like you said, we'll talk a little bit about that.
We
So.
do, yeah.
Definitely they do. So Lacey, thank you again, and with that said, we'll keep passing it around. And again, yeah, we got a lot to be able to get into. So Candice, we'll pass it over to you again, just a quick introduction in terms of like who you are relative to dream practice and anything else. Candice, go ahead and welcome back to the circle when you're ready, Candice. And Candice has been involved in every dream discussion circle that we've done so far, so welcome back, Candice.
Hey, so when regarding to dreams, I didn't really like share or converse with people before I joined internship. I just basically kept the dreams to myself and in my head, but since I've been in the community, I've shared, and dreams to me have been real, and it's like when I'm in my dream state, my dreams take me there, take me to the present moment. It's really cool. Unlike when I'm in my waking state and the magic door stays shut. So that's me.
Thank you, Candice, and yeah, it's been wonderful to just hear a little bit about your feedback, Candice, on just like how joining these circles has like been so meaningful for you, and just having someone to talk to. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably fascinated with dreams, but if they're not talking to anyone, like it almost can kind of reach a plateau. We need other people to talk to, which in turn actually sparks more of the dream practice. It's weird. It's like, that's something maybe we'll talk about that. You guys will probably relate to this, where it's like sometimes like your external reality affects your dream reality, but then your dream reality affects your external reality. So it's kind of like this Mobius Ouroboros strip thing going on. So yeah, again, thank you, Candice, for being here and for joining in tonight. Happy to have you here. So okay, we'll keep things passing along. And with that said, we'll pass it over to Alicea. And then who wants to go after Alicea after that? Just, okay, we'll pass over to Helena. Alicea, when you're ready, welcome and go right ahead. Who are you and relative to dream practice, et cetera, et cetera? Welcome.
Awesome. Hello. Hi, you beautiful dreamers. I'm so happy to be here right now. Who am I? I'm a dreamer just like you guys. I feel called to say, anybody who's catching this on a live, I just stumbled into one of these lives not too long ago, and I'm getting so much value out of the Patreon membership. So I just wanted to do a shout out to that. So there's a lot of value here, a lot of cool people. Right now, in terms of my dream work, I'm being called to like start putting in the work, because this is an area that I haven't there hasn't been much recall, and I hadn't done the work. A lot of it, I think, substance abuse and late night eating has been a big part of my journey that I'm moving past now, and like things are more vivid. So I'm looking to put in the work and grow strength in this area. My daydream work has been like off the hook. Like I was just on the driving and like having the most beautiful daydreams, but like I was totally somewhere else. So it kind of shows like how we can be in so many places at once. And I'm trying to meld all the realities, and even right now question like, am I dreaming right now? Anyways, I love you guys so much. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Alicea. Yeah, do your dream, like your reality checks while you're even in this broadcast. It's just like, that's a great question. Are we dreaming right now? So sometimes it feels like it, man. When I'm hanging out with you guys, it definitely feels like it. So, but yeah, we'll talk more about that. So Helena, we'll pass it over to you. And am I pronouncing, did I get it right this time? Did I figure it out? Sometimes I struggle with that. Yeah.
You got it.
Helena, welcome. And thank you so much for being here. And go ahead. Who are you in terms of your dream practice, etc.?
Okay, I have been, an avid dreamer since I was a kid, since as long as I can remember. I've had any kind of experience you could think of in my dreams. And I'm really looking forward to this space. I've been wanting a dream community for a while. I was a part of dreamcatcher.net with Lacey years ago, and it was really profound. That was like this dream community where people would record their dreams online. It was just a bunch of dreamers, and that community profoundly impacted how I dreamed, and I dreamt with almost everybody on there, even if I had never even seen their face in real life, and because everybody had like avatar pictures, including Lacey. And so I've been longing for a community since then. Right now, my dreams are filled with mostly messages for other people. I have, a lot of prophetic dreams, a lot of super psychedelic dreams, but recently they've been like very grounded and earthly, and filled with messages for people. And yeah, my recall is probably about 6 or 7 these days. I go on and off between journaling them and not. Mostly I kind of come away with whatever I remember was what I was meant to remember. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Helena. Happy to be able to have you here. Yeah, between you, Lacey, and Maya, like, man, it's a powerhouse crew. And that's like, and again, like I'm still learning about everybody else here. Again, you know, everybody's again, so that's kind of the thing. Like sometimes people will just kind of say, be like, oh, I don't dream, but it's like there's a dreamer inside all of us, you know. So and that's one of the things I love about dreaming is that there's actually a science to techniques you can begin to implement. And then a person who might have said, oh, I don't dream, I don't remember my dreams, like try this for a month. And then, you know, notice what happens as a result of that. So again, for those of you that are very naturally inclined to that, it's wonderful to have you here. Lacey, go ahead, pass it over to you again. You invited Helena tonight, so thank you again for inviting us. And yeah, going back to the dreamcatcher.net days, like that's like way back too.
So. That's like, yeah, like 2010. It was like early. Yeah, it's been a long time, but as Helena said, like, I know for me personally, that was like that community, like ignited my dreams even more. And like she said, like I dreamt with everyone there, and it was just like this very special community where we were all practitioners of that art, this lost art. And it's just so cool to see us all here together now and excited and, you know, continuing this beautiful way to travel the universe. So yeah, I just wanted to say, like, it's just cool. I'm feeling the vibes. I'm excited. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you again, Lacey. Yeah, it really is. This really is a lost art in a lot of ways. You know, it's like a martial arts for the soul, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like, if people aren't being educated about this, it will slip. So, you know, like we're holding on to something that's quite sacred, quite special. And the one thing that's very interesting, even if you just take a moment to connect with this, like dreams and dream practice, like the concept of it, like think about for a moment how that immediately connects us with our entire lineage. Like all of our ancestors were dreamers in one way or another. So the fact that we're like showing up in this practice, like regardless of the world they existed in, all of us have dreamt, and all of us have dreamt in similar ways. So it's really interesting to think of like how timeless the art of dreams are. And again, you know, there's a lot of discussions that we probably won't get into today, but even just getting into the real metaphysical aspects of like what are dreams, that will pop up here and there. We've definitely dived into that before, but again, it's incredibly beautiful just to be able to explore that mystery together. So let's keep things going along here, and we'll keep again, just keep pace. And Lacey, was there anything else you want to share? Is that good? We'll pass it. Okay. All right. So who wants to go next? Pass it over to Kristen, and then we'll pass it over to Maya after that. So welcome back, Kristen. And when you're ready, go right ahead and share a little bit about who you are relative to dream practice.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I got into dream practice around when I was 19, when I first saw Waking Life, that animated movie, and my partner at the time lent me a book about lucid dreaming, and then I started becoming like an avid lucid dreaming, like lucid dreamer in training intermittently for the next like 5 years after that, just dropping it and coming back into it, and just trying to get back on the bandwagon. I haven't been in that kind of practice for years now, but I do try to recall my dreams just to myself, like with an internal dialogue as much as I can. And I'm devastated. I had like about like a month's worth of dreams on like one note on my old phone, and the phone died and it was all lost, and I was just like, I definitely didn't remember them because I'd stored them there. Like, so I had a break after that because I had to kind of mourn the dream journal off the phone. But yeah, I'm really been picking it up again, and my recall's not great. It's like 2 or 3, but I really get into it for just as an investigatory tool of what's going on in my subconscious. And I'm kind of a poetic thinker, and I like to find metaphors in life for experience as well. So it's another like opportunity to just unpack the metaphors and think poetically about it, and what does that relate to. And I used to read the dream dictionaries and stuff online, but I had my own issues with them because I was like, well, I was a teacher at the time and I was dreaming about schools, and they're like talking about schools on the online things. I'm like, but it would be different for me because I am a teacher, like this is my profession. So I realized I needed to really unpack them myself and really like extract the symbolism without that, like those generic meaning things. And yeah, I felt like I've gotten some interesting revelations from what's going on in my subconscious through the unpacking of dreams. And I'm in a pretty transformative phase of my life at the moment, so I like all the information I can get to add to that clarity. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, and again, we'll talk a bit about this tonight, but it's like the best person to be able to decode your dreams is you, because like all of us, like our dreams all have like almost like a similar but a unique language. So that's one of the things we'll be talking a bit about tonight, is we'll be looking into some of like the common themes within our dreams so that we can begin to recognize and understand a little bit more of the language. When we were doing that meditation at the start, the thing that came within that I said within the circle was basically this idea of like, it's like, remember, like dreams are a window to our heart. And again, you know, like the heart in itself is kind of like the kind of like the crystal of the soul, so to speak. So it's like through dreams you see the soul. You literally, this idea that, you know, we're a multidimensional being, we're these fifth dimensional beings, we're these beings that have existed throughout many incarnations, and now here we are in this tiny little human body, but within the inner space it connects us to like this much bigger part of ourselves. So that's where, you know, very simply put, if I were to try to sell someone on why dreams would be something worth to pay attention to, it'd be like, it helps you understand more of who you are, like literally like whether this is past lives, but it's also connecting you to like who you are within your heart, what virtues you hold, what actions you would want to be able to like bring into this world. And again, kind of what Kristen was saying, the arts and the visions and like, you know, the creations that are inside of us that often kind of like trickle in through dreams that we can bring out. And again, shout out to Lacey. If you guys haven't seen like Lacey, a lot of her art, and you can find it on the Paper Druid on Instagram, is inspired by dream work, and her and many others, you know, like it's the dreams are like a window through which the art comes into this world. So very simply put, just to kind of set the stage here, and I'll pass it over to Maya, you know, what we want to do within these circles is to encourage us to be better students of the dream practice, to pay attention, because it's easy for us to be like sitting in the back of the class with our feet up on the desk, just being like, well, yeah, whatever, like this is whatever, I'm just waiting for lunch so I can go like dick off or something like that, right? Like we've been convinced that dreams are not worth our time, but meanwhile the universe, the teacher at the front of the class is like, this is for you. Like, this isn't just like, you know, like something to waste your time. Like, we are preparing you. So like a classroom, like a school, you can graduate. So if you really want to be able to graduate into those higher parts of conscious evolution, the dream space is like the school through which that happens, so to speak, metaphorically. But yeah, let's keep things passing around. I know other people would be able to explain things in some way. And one of the things I want to be able to get into, and this maybe we'll get into this even before the first question, I'll just, because I wanted to add this in, would be the question in generally for other people is what makes a good dreamer? So think about that. I know that's very subjective, but I want you guys to just kind of think about that, and we'll go through that after we do the introductions. So with that said, we're going to pass over to Maya. And again, Maya, I'm so glad to be able to have you here. Maya deserves a very special introduction. Maya is one of our good friends who has been involved with our in-person circles throughout the year when we started those in London, and we've had plenty of discussions with Dream. Her and Lacey have shared many dream-related connections. And Maya, I'm so glad to be able to have you here to be able to introduce you and to share some of your wisdom. So Maya, go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and your experience as a dreamer. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to join you guys. I'm really glad that I got off work early. Finally, one day that I did. It lines up. So my journey as a dreamer. So I've been dreaming, I feel like, since I was little. I can still remember dreams that I had when I was little. Like they're just sort of like etched into my memory. And I feel like I've just had lots of like really profound dreams. And of course they like ebb and flow, like they're not always, but lots of profound messages that come through. I've had definitely lots of lucid dreams. that is one thing I I would like to work more towards that, and also like writing them down when I wake up. That's something that I feel like I'd like to do more of. I've also worked with sleep paralysis, which is an interesting thing to navigate, sort of like that in between state, and also like learning how to get myself out of that, because it can actually be kind of strange and scary. And then also, I've also worked with having these sort of like out of body experiences when I'm like on this in between space also. These are by accident though, definitely, but it's something that I have experienced that is really a really neat thing to experience. And my dream recall right now is probably around a 5. Like I wake up every morning like really feeling my dreams, and definitely recalling like a pretty good chunk of it. That's also something that I'd like to work more on. And yeah, what an interesting journey it is to have dreams. I just love it actually so much. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a lifelong thing, and I feel lucky to be part of this with you guys.
Happy to have you here, Maya. I'm glad it worked out, and look forward to many more discussions still to come. So Maya, thank you so much for joining. So awesome. Beautiful. And with that said, we can pass it over. Kyle, did you want to do an introduction? Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll pass it over to Kyle, and then we'll go into that first question I mentioned. So Kyle, when you're ready, go right ahead, dude.
Hey everyone. Honestly, this is awesome. When I was a kid, I used to love dreaming, and I used to just think about it like I'm going in a stream or something like that, and I didn't understand too much about it. But I've always recalled my dreams and had pretty like adventurous dreams. But recently, like I've kind of figured out what's the lucid dream I'm having, and then what's like a travel, and that's led me to like to want to go further in. And I've always wanted to do like lucid dreaming and astral projection, all these things, and I've always just fallen off the bandwagon. Like no one's ever been like held me accountable to be like, hey, you doing that every day, or are you checking, you pressing your finger or something. And it's something that I want to try to be disciplined with, but it's tough. One thing let's say for dream, or you guys are saying dream recall, like in the morning, sometimes I can remember it like 4 or 5 kind of thing. And some days when I wake up really euphoric, that's when I'm like, oh, I remember, like I was in the dream. I wake up, I'm like, oh, this is reality now. And kind of forget. Oh, you know what? And what I was drinking earlier was chaga tea, and chaga makes your dreams vivid, like straight vivid. Like you'll wake up and you're like, the reality, you're like, was that reality or this reality? And I can't really, the other stuff feels more real. And I'm pretty happy we have free DMT trips every night. That's a blessing.
Thanks. Thank you, Kyle. Yeah, again, like that's one of the things that we really emphasize here within the dream discussion circle is really just helping us align with the idea that like every single night dreams are the sacred ceremony. They are a gift in so many ways. And one of the ways, trying to understand like what dreams are, it's like, are they just a byproduct of chemical signals going off in the brain, or are they something, kind of from this higher dimensional perspective that has been kind of like engineered into our being, almost as a form of like spiritual technology is kind of what I refer to it as. Like it seems more like technology. It seems like there's mechanisms and like consistencies and this idea that like the dreams are being created both from our own internal projections and energies, but then there's also like this external aspect to dreams where we're entering into like a collective space, and within this collective space there's also the idea for like other versions of consciousness and intelligence to be able to interact with us. So like dreams literally is like us entering into hyperspace where we can communicate with other beings, other aspects of ourselves outside of normal space and time, into the past, into the future, go to other worlds. So it's interesting because we as humans, we have this desire to want to travel through away from this planet. It's like we're building rockets and we're traveling out into space. But at the same time, that's the astronaut. The psychonaut is the one who travels inwards. So we've kind of, as a society, we've pushed away the notion of the importance of going inwards. But what if, like, it's like, oh, you want to go talk to aliens and travel to other planets and explore the universe? What if, like, that was already built into us and we're just starting to remember? And I think a lot of what the practice of dreams does, it helps you remember. And it can be a bit jarring at certain stages within the dream practice, especially if people maybe have such a vivid dream or perhaps a lucid dream where they suddenly kind of, like what Kyle was saying, what everyone else is saying, kind of like this idea of like what's real? Like, is the dream real? Is this real? Like, and honestly, the simple answer that I have to that, and we're going to go around the circle and get the discussion going, the way how someone else explained it to me very simply is the idea of understanding that the dream space has a present moment equally as real and vivid as this one right now. Our memory of it might be a little bit different. Our memory of it is not the actual experience of it. It's the memory of it. So it's kind of like two different things. But when you're in that present moment within the dream space, it is a present moment, it is equally vivid and real. So, when I think about dreams and people say like, well, are dreams real? To simplify it, I say that, if the soul can learn and grow from it, then that does make it real. It's not whether or not it's physical or anything like that, but if we can learn from it, I think that makes it real. So that's where, as dreamers, it's like, yeah, we're experiencing this reality here within this physical dimension, but the dream space is just as important. In some cases, maybe even more important, depending on how much it could actually like vividly like transform your reality. So again, there's a lot of opportunity to be able to begin acknowledging and putting a little bit more conscious intention and significance towards our dream practices, realizing that they have an unlimited treasure trove of like gifts to be able to give us if we are holding our hands open to be able to receive. So it's interesting because again, like with dreams, it's like, yeah, dreams do require a bit of discipline. It's like, imagine like literally that's what we're asking you to do. It's like, okay, you need to do something that requires discipline as soon as you wake up in the moment in the morning, which is like naturally the moment when we're like the most lazy. It's like waking up first thing in the morning, just be like, hey, like, it's like go shovel the driveway or go vacuum the house first thing in the morning, right? It's just like your instinct is just like, no, I don't want it. Like it's blah, 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 blah. But that's like where instead of resisting that, what one thing can actually do is to kind of acknowledge that and just be like, ooh, that's the edge. That's the part of me that I'm strengthening, that I'm refining, and to kind of lean into that. And with any practice, it's a muscle. It's something you develop and you flex. And the more you begin to do it, the more you begin to get better at it. And the more you begin to fall in love with the results of it. And eventually it just becomes something second nature. And you begin to really receive the reward. Without having that immediate reward, it can be hard to convince people to even bother paying attention to dreams. But if you can commit to it for like a week, 2 weeks, and you begin to be like, whoa, like this is taking me places I have never been. This is like Kyle said, this is like a DMT trip every single night. This is taking me to other places. Like suddenly they start to become a little bit more important. Don't wait for those moments to happen for you. Know that they're already there and allow yourself to feel that significance now. Candice, go ahead, and then we'll go into our first question prompt. Yep, go ahead,
I just
Candice.
wanted to add, dreams is a body. And when we can carry dreams and make it our body, then it shows us the messages that we're meant to see in every moment. I just wanted to share that that's what I do on a daily basis.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. When we start to get better at relating to our dreams and even decoding the symbolism, suddenly we begin to kind of like decode the symbolism even within this dream, this waking dream level. So let's get into this first question prompt. And again, this is just kind of like a warm-up question prompt. We won't spend as much time on it, but I do just want to be able to give us a chance to just kind of like sit with this. And whether you're an expert dreamer or someone who is, again, just getting started, let's just take a moment here. So what we're going to do, give you guys a chance to journal if you want to do this. For the past broadcast where we've kind of been using this format where we kind of ask questions, give ourselves to like reflect. with our heart, and then we come back and we share as a group. So if you guys want to like write something out, journal or anything like that, type on your computer, go ahead and do that. And I already mentioned what the prompt was, but I'll just reiterate it here again, and then we'll just take a few moments of silence, and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll go from there. So the first question for everyone, and again, this is just kind of like a warm-up question. The question is, what makes a good dreamer? What makes a good dreamer? So again, this is very subjective. You can be basing this based on your own experience, based on things you've read, things you've heard, whatever the case may be. What makes a good dreamer? So go ahead and take about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back and we'll begin passing and talking, stick around. So just listen to your heart. Don't think too much about it. Just feel it. What makes a good dreamer? About 15 more seconds. Okay. All right, I can see people writing down, seeing people thinking about it. So I'll hold off on sharing some of the stuff that I wrote down, and we'll just begin passing and talking, stick around. You guys don't have to share on this. We'll just kind of practice. And yeah, let's just see where this discussion goes. And again, this is us sharing from the heart. Go ahead, Candice, you can share first. Yeah, what makes a good dreamer?
For me, it's all about like get out of my physical body and just be the dream, like just sit in the dream. That's my world. So to answer the question, that's a cool space.
Thank you, Candice. Yeah, I kind of wrote down some other things, but yeah, like being present in that space, in kind of like an iteration of what you're sharing there. So Candice, thank you. We'll pass it around, and then Candice, we can always go back to as well. Maya, go ahead. We'll pass it over to you. Are you raising your hand, or were you just? I couldn't tell if you were petting the cat or whatever, but yeah, go ahead, Maya.
I was petting the cat, and yes, both. I feel like the first thing that came to me, well, a few things came to me actually. So I feel like, I guess I can only speak to my own experience, but I feel like feeling connected to something beyond this world and connecting to those higher planes, or high, low, whatever you want to call them, anything in between. I feel like that for me is a big part of it. And I feel like also I don't know, my health is actually, I think, a big part of it. Like, I feel like to maintain that state of like downloading a dream and like remembering it and stuff, I feel like it's I feel like we have to be hydrated. And I feel like it's good to feel like our bodies are healthy and clean, and yeah. And something else came to me, but I can't remember right now, so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Maya. Great answers there. Again, we'll just keep passing around, and then I'll share stuff a little bit later. Alicea, go right ahead, and then anyone after that, just go ahead and raise your hand when you're ready.
Yeah, the first thing that kind of came to mind is like being able to hold that positive light and being like, know that you're divinely protected and not being spooked off or scared of the unknown, but exploring it and being open to it. Maya, speaking about like sleep paralysis and things like that, like those are experiences I did have as a kid, and I'm trying to go back now and like, or not even as a kid, as an adult trying to practice this stuff. I've had these scary moments and I'm trying to like correct that and just know, like, there's my light is so bright, like I can't go wrong here. There's nothing to be scared of. So that was part of what I had in mind, but also imagination. I like applying this to especially like our daydreams and our manifestation work, and like practicing our dreams in our awakened reality and trying to meld the two. And I just want to share this because it's awesome. I recently found out like my cats come for walks with me, like straight up, like no leash. Like I've been going on walks with my cats, which is like so cool. I didn't know they do this, but I like picture them as like a lion and a lioness, like walking with me and just like having that imagination. Right. And just like playing with it and melding all of these realities. And I really liked what you said, Brendon, like, being able to remember and learn from our dreams is what helps make us good dreamers. So, yeah.
Thank you, Alicea. Beautiful answers there. And again, let's just keep passing around. I'll share after whoever else wants to share at some point. Lacey, we'll pass over to you, and then Helena will pass over to you. Go ahead, Lacey.
Yeah, I'm like, when people bring up, like Alicea brings up, like talking about sleep paralysis and maybe negative dreams, and we always kind of touch base with that in a lot of our dream discussions where we talk about shadow work. And obviously, just as we can explore the cosmos, we do explore our inner psyche a lot in dream time. We can do the most profound inner healing through dreams. And I know with sleep paralysis, which is technically like an OBE, but I'd love to go more in depth with theories around all that stuff. I won't go into it now, but like what are our nightmares, as people call them, are actually showing us. So I would love to actually, we didn't make that a prompt today, but I know maybe in the future we can really focus on those darker aspects of dream time, because I'm someone that actually has a lot of dark dreams. So anyways, what I put to be a good dreamer, I said an openness and willingness to learn. So knowing that we are always the student, and that we are a student of this life, but we're also a student of, I guess it requires some like self-awareness. So you have to be able to do like internal like self-reflection. And so that's something. I don't know if I'm like saying that properly, but like having the willingness to dive inside yourself in order to be able to go outside yourself. So I said an openness and willingness to learn, focused intentions. So really being able to have routine makes a good dreamer. So being consistent with yourself, and also being easy on yourself, and knowing that, like everyone has said here today, especially if you're new to the practice, is that it will ebb and flow just as anything does in life. And that Helena even said that she receives, right? Like, so like what's coming to you is meant to come to you. And I think having that understanding can just make a world of difference with the practice. So you're not like almost forcing it. It's just coming. It's like, it's a natural process. And what else did I write? Oh, a devotion to the art. So like, just as you would say, go to the gym or take care of your temple, your physical body, eat well, all those things, devoted even to your spiritual practice, whether that's praying, going to church, going to ecstatic dance, or any of these other outlets that, help us do the inner work. Dreaming is the same thing, and it can be the same thing if you feel called to it. So being devoted to it as a way of, I guess, bringing you closer to yourself and learning more about the mysteries of the universe. So knowing, knowing we're always a student and devotion to the art. Yeah, that's what I wrote. I wrote a lot. I wrote down what everyone else wrote down or said too. So yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, one of the phrases commonly associated with dream practice is "nosce te ipsum," know thyself, and that's 100% what dreams are about. And there's actually a prompt that we're going to get into a little bit later that will kind of help us dive deeper into that. Yeah, go ahead, Lacey, and then.
And one more thing is, for me personally, like on a personal note, is that like dreaming for me is not something I just do when I go to sleep. So as Alicea said, she daydreams. I'm also setting intention throughout my day. I'm always kind of energetically feeling the dream space, even if I'm awake here. So I know that's not for everybody, but for me, it's like they're both kind of like interwoven. So for me, it's like the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, it's all this continuous cycle. I don't know, that's a little bit more specific, but like I know for me, it's really helped me like live my life in the dream time just as much as I live my life here. So yeah.
Very well, very well put. Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, that's again, so much to be able to talk about there, and I'd love to even just be able to explore a little bit later on again, because even Lacey and I were kind of talking about this. It's just like, it's like, yeah, okay, like our consciousness is here in this present moment in this physical reality, but then parallel to this, for many of us, apparently not all of us right now, like we have like what we refer to as the imagination, which is like a part of ourself that's existing in this other space where it's literally transforming at the will of our thoughts instantaneously, very much like what happens within the dream space. So again, it's kind of like the dream space is the realm of the imagination, and then there's like versions of that reality, and then one of those is immediately accessible through what we recognize as daydreaming and using our imagination and flexing our imagination. And so it's like, one of the ways to be able to, and this is just a short answer and I'll pass it to Helena, to become a good dreamer is to like flex your imagination. And honestly, I think a lot of people are not doing that these days. They're having everything fed to them, and they don't actually practice flexing their imagination, and they're like, oh, I'm not very creative and stuff like that. It's like, man, there's infinite creativity coming through you. It just needs to be something where you just like, like go read a book, go play with your imagination, go, back when we were kids, we used to do this all the time, and now we've kind of like lost it in a lot of ways. But that in turn can immediately carry over into your dream practices, where, say, for example, you become lucid and be like, oh, like, what should I do right now? And be like the last thing you want to do in your dream is to kind of like result to some sort of default mechanism where like, maybe it's like, I'm going to watch Netflix in my dreams. It's like, are you serious? Like, is that what you're going to do? It's like, no, it's like, let's go freaking like ride a dragon, like, let's go like teleport to the pyramids of Egypt. Let's go talk to like some sort of like deity or something like that. Right. So like having those abilities to be able to flex your imagination throughout the day can immediately, again, just kind of like strengthen your ability, especially when you're falling asleep at night and you're like creating the scenario for how you're entering into the dream space just by creating that imagination. Apparently, Lacey and I just found out about this, is like, side note, like apparently not everyone has an internal dialogue or like this like whole process where they like imagine things within their head. Like apparently some humans don't function like that, which blows my freaking mind. But anyways, we'll talk more about that later. Helena, let's pass it over to you, and when you're ready, go ahead. The question prompt being, what makes a good dreamer?
Hey, so yeah, just I guess going off of what you were saying, the first thing that came to my mind was just the word creativity. And I think whether that's through daydreaming or whatever in your waking life, exercising your creative side is really helpful. Maybe you sing in your car, or maybe you are an artist, or you write or something like that, just like or dance. Exercising your creativity, I think, can really help, because it helps like soften your edges, and it helps you literally like open your mind. And that is, I think, a huge part of being more receptive and open to your dreams while you're sleeping. Another big word that came through was listening, and being a good listener, even in your waking life, and practicing listening. And because yeah, there's so much that can come through with dreams, but if you can't listen to them and hear the messages or see the messages, and yeah, well, I guess when I say listener, I'm not even just specifically talking about your ears, just being receptive, and exercise being receptive in your daily life, I think is a big thing that you can do to help be more receptive of your dream state. Being physically active is a big one for me while I'm awake. Helps me dream better. And then like literally like asking those around you what they dreamed the night before. When you wake up, if you live with somebody, if you talk to your mom on the phone or whatever, if you don't live with somebody, anytime you're interacting with someone, ask them what they dreamed the night before, and it can help you access your dreams more often. One last thing that came through was like I have a lot of dream memories that come through during the days. I'll be doing the dishes, and then all of a sudden I have this like dream sequence that, you know, happened years ago, just running through my head, like exactly as it was in the dream. And I've come to this point where I kind of mini reward myself when I have those moments, and I'll like have my little sip of coffee or a little bite of chocolate or something, like this little reward of like, ooh, I'm accessing this dream space right now. And that actually helps generate more dream time in my waking life.
Thank you, Helena. Wonderful suggestions and prompts there, reminders there as well. Kristen, I'll pass it over to you in 1 second. I'm just going to share just like the top of my list. I wrote down like freaking like 20 things here. Some of the things that I wrote down real quick, like practicing recall, something we've already talked about here. Writing down our dreams. Some of these are obvious. Paying attention, which is a lot of what Helena was saying. And it's interesting because, you know, like dreams are a very interesting practice where there's it's a very yin and yang practice, meaning that a part of the dream practice is through initiation of your action. It's you taking action and you saying, I'm going to engage with this. But then the other side of it is the receptiveness, the receiving, the softness that you bring in. You can't force yourself into developing like better dream practice. You can develop discipline and vigilance. That's important. But again, it's kind of like this, you have to, it's how you approach dreams from your heart space. If you approach dreams purely from your ego, you're going to get a completely different result. So there's all these like kind of like dynamics and layers and ingredients to how you'll be able to, what you'll receive is based on what you put into it as well. Being a good dreamer, I wrote down having special abilities, ? And honestly, I say that because, some people think like, what's a good dreamer? And you look at like TikTok and everything right now, and everyone's like obsessed with like astral projection and lucid dreaming. It's like, man, that's a part of dream practice and everything like that. But it's like, you don't need to be a lucid dreamer or an astral projector in order to be a good dreamer. It's a part of it, and it's something that can be very fascinating, but we almost want to make sure that we're not putting too much significance on the fascination of things. What we become fascinated with actually begins to kind of like infiltrate our dreams, which is why people will dream about the things they do within their day-to-day life because they're fascinated. So it's like we want to become aware of what we're fascinated with and actually like almost like release the grip of that in order to be able to create space for the new information to come through, which maybe we can talk a bit more about later. And then the other things I just wrote, and then I'll pass it over to Kristen, being conscious, again, being aware, awareness of the present moment, awareness of the breath, and being curious. This, I think, is probably one of the most important things of being a good dreamer is developing curiosity. What we were kind of talking about earlier, like as you're walking throughout your day, just kind of like look at things with more detail. Go look at a tree and just kind of like look at it and just kind of like study it and like look at the sky and look at like the ceiling in your room right now and just get inquisitive and just be like, oh, like what is, like look at the patterns, look at the detail, look at, like ask yourself and be like, is this a dream right now? Like who are, like where am I? What's my setting, object, location? That's one of the practices within dreams, like constantly just kind of like bringing in this curiosity where your waking life kind of becomes this meditation. And then that eventually kind of like leads into the dream practice as well. And then the other thing that I wrote is having confidence, understanding your abilities, understanding what you can do within dreams is also important for becoming a good dreamer, because, it's kind of like, entering into dreams is kind of like entering into some sort of video game where we haven't necessarily been given the tutorial level. So if we can give ourselves the tutorial level by saying, oh, well, did you guys know that you could do this? Did you know you can fly? Did you know you can teleport? Did you know you can talk to your ancestors and stuff like that? Just knowing what some of your options are within the dream space. It's like, you know, you get in there and then it's like you kind of drop down this game menu and then be like, oh, okay, and that's where I can go. That's how I like to kind of like imagine it, so to speak. If you don't know what you can do, intuitively you'll probably do things, but just having that a little bit more of awareness, where again you bring your waking conscious awareness into the dream space, and then again it kind of like creates this full circle. So wisdom, experience, and some other things that I wrote. Kristen, let's pass it over to you and keep the conversation rolling here. Appreciate everybody joining in, and for those of you on YouTube, leave your comments in the chat as well. What does being a good dreamer mean to you? Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I had curiosity as well. Curiosity about like the mysteries of life, and like the energetics and underlayers of life, like in waking life, help put like an automatic value on dreams. And also just curiosity about the human experience itself. Like even when you guys were talking about, I'm back to reality now when we come out of a dream, and it's like, you know, the existential question is like, what is reality? If we're all experiencing it, if we're all experiencing those layers, we all dream, how is that a separate like reality? But it's just like waking life and dream life, but they're all life. And just curiosity was a massive one for me. Leaning into that, like feeling that everything is a symbol, everything's a metaphor for something deeper. Like when we're looking at dreams, like, you know, whether we meet one of our friends in a dream, is it really about them, or is it what they represent to us, like the qualities that they represent to us when they're communicating to us? Is it really about them individually, or them as a symbol for something else? And just I felt like what makes a good dreamer and what cultivates that kind of devotion to the practice is like having like self-value and like self-inquiry skills. So just in your day-to-day life, having like acknowledging that you are part of the mystery and trying to work out like what your experience is, and just having that self-inquiry in every aspect of your experience helps to deepen the self-inquiry through dreaming. And when we did the little meditation at the start, the message that came through intuitively for me was the magic of the world is all in you. So it's just like it's really just like such a depth of self-investigation, but we're so mysterious, like and I think people can shy away from that kind of thinking because maybe they think it's self-indulgent, or, you know, get scared of feeling egoic if they're really going into the self, but we're just as mysterious as everything else. And it's so getting meaning and from that self-inquiry. And then one extra thing was just like using dreams as an opportunity to understand your emotional processing. So it's just also a tool for self-growth and like clarity, and ways that if I've get stuck on something emotional and the tools that I have aren't helping me, then having that intention when I go to sleep to be like, I want to process a bit of this when I'm dreaming. Can I get some clarity around this issue through my dream? And, you know, even if I don't remember the dream, I often feel a level of peace around said issue the next day, having asked for that level of healing through the dream world, because, setting intentions for what is happening or what you want to do in the dreams is powerful. So, it's me.
Thank you, Kristen. Again, from here, we'll kind of just open it up into a little bit of discussion. I know there are some things there. I'm sure Lacey and possibly some others would have something to reply to. The relationship that we have with dreams is what makes us a good dreamer. So when we begin to understand that the dream space is this opportunity to serve us, to be this healing space, and you know, it's like literally, if you were just open up your imagination and your heart to this idea that every time we go to sleep, we're like in like the cradle of our ancestors. You know, it's like our ancestors just kind of take a moment, just be like, here, like, let us help your heart, let us help your soul. And you don't even have to fully be conscious of it, but even to know that like there are things that are happening within the dream space that you don't need to necessarily remember, but just to be aware that that dream space is this place where energy can move, things can be unpacked, processes can unfold, unfold. And again, awareness can kind of naturally arise to the surface. Just the rest of my lists that I shared here, and then we'll pass it over if Lacey wants to go next or anybody else. The other thing I was going to say in terms of what makes a good dreamer is like excitement. We already talked about that, but again, like being connected with our heart, being connected with nature, creating a good physical space for dreams. It's hella hard to get into a good dreams practice if your space is messy. Like your space is a reflection of like the energy it holds. So cleaning your room is actually a great step to be able to just kind of incubate the energy for that ceremony when you practice your dream space, when you practice your dreams. And also again, like mental wellness, physical wellness, minimal anxiety. Like oftentimes, like if our anxiety is hard, like we may still dream, but it might not necessarily be the type of dreams we're looking for. So like what can we do within our day to kind of like just like release our anxiety, move that physical energy? And that's, again, Helena was talking a lot about like how physical exercise, I agree with that. The days where I would like work out in the evening and then go to bed like restful would often be prompted, like would bring about very powerful dreams. Being able to practice relaxing and and that's basically what I wrote there. But yeah, there's a lot of things that again, the dream practice is a very holistic practice. Like it's you want to get good at dreams, get good at just like, the holistic practice of just creating like a little bit more balance and everything within your own life, while at the same time understanding that, be where you are, and it's okay to be where you are. And just having that intention is such a very powerful first step. So wherever anybody is within the dream practices, you're exactly where you need to be. And again, just kind of having a little bit of this is super powerful. And at the very minimal, like if you're looking to start, amongst some of the other things, it's like meditation and dream journaling are basically like one of the pillars. Meditation, dream journaling, and community would be like the simple pillars to just kind of get things started for the practice. So with the dream journal, even if that means you're just writing down 1 or 2 words, but like I encourage you, like try not to use your phone. If you are using your phone, that's great. Try going back to the old pen and paper. That way, so you don't get like the blue light in your eyes and the phone kind of distracts and it has like an energy to it. Like pen and paper, like for me has been better. Like if I'm like depending on my phone, I find I don't really do it as often. I'll like be like, time to write out my dream. And the next thing I know, I'm just like on Instagram checking my messages or something like that. Like having the pen and paper, like, and really create a bit of a like you almost have to really commit where it's just like, this is my rule for myself, where it's like, I don't check my phone until like 15 minutes after I'm awake. And then I use those first 15 minutes of the day, maybe to just like really meditate and to write down whatever it is that I'm feeling. Cause like those moments where you just wake up, it's like, there's like the way I've explained it. It's like, there's this very delicate, like almost like golden cord of energy that connects our physical body to the memory of our dream experiences. When we get up out of bed and we look at our phone, that unplugs that cord. So what we want to do is be very gentle with our physical body in the morning and then go through the process of meditating, retrospective meditation, where we kind of think backwards. Okay, what's the last thing I remember about my dream? Figure that out, feel that, go back. And we can actually practice this within our waking memory of, that's a great practice of doing a retrospective meditation before going to sleep at night, where you do a meditation, basically say, what did I do throughout my day today? Meditate on where you are right now, where you were 10 minutes, where you were 10 minutes before that, with as much detail as possible. Do that as a practice. And then when you wake up in the morning, apply that same practice to the real of your dream. And then that will actually kind of like help you, because a lot of you will be able to testify this, and I'll pass over to Lacey in a second, where oftentimes like the recall for our dream memory, it's not necessarily linear. Like sometimes it's kind of fragmented and it may even be like almost kind of like from the end back to the start kind of thing. So take those first, like seriously, like 15 minutes in the morning, do your best to just like take that phone, put it in airplane mode, put it on the other side of the room so you're not tempted to grab it. Put that pen and paper near your bed. Buy a new journal if you want one, something that it's like dedicated, that has that energy, that intention, and really just kind of commit to that to the best of your ability. That will yield results. Like as a science, that will yield results. So Lacey, I'll pass over to you, and then let's just kind of like chit chat about, like anything that you guys want to share, and then we'll get into another prompt shortly after this. Go ahead, Lacey.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I know for my own practice and journaling for so long has really helped open up like the possibilities of dream time for me. Some people are like, they'll have like one journal that they're like dedicated to, and like that's what they write in. I personally have I have what I call my dream bubble book, and my dream bubble stuff is like stuff that might not necessarily be like full out novel length stories, because I do dream where it's quite linear and quite consistent, and I can write a lot of detail. And then other times I'm like, oh, I dreamt I was living in a cabin on a mountaintop, and I went running through the woods or something like that, and it was just like a little blurb. So I have like 2 separate books, but that's just my practice. So I have my bubble book, and then my more like themed, like deep dreams that I tend to go back to more frequently later on and reflect on them, even still to this day. Being able to go back to those dreams and see the meaning behind them and where I was at in my life, and they still are rippling into my life currently, which is really fascinating to think that dreams from 10 years ago are having impact on me presently. So journaling is just such an amazing tool for us to utilize. And I mean, whatever works for you and feels good and feels natural, where it doesn't feel forced, I think you'll find your most productive. You'll be your most productive. There's so many cats.
Oh my God, the cats.
The greatest dreams right here.
Yeah. They when the cat, like you wake up and the cat's like sitting on your chest, and the cat's like in your dream with you. Anybody ever had that where the cats enter your dream space? Animal dreaming. So
I dream with animals a lot.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, Lacey, thank you again. I know there's a lot to talk about, so we'll just keep moving things around here. And good God, look at the time. We'll probably go past 10, but again, I'm not gonna. If anybody has to leave early, that's totally fine, and we'll just kind of go with the flow. Yeah, go ahead, Lacey.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm sleepy, so
that's good. Lacey's getting tired.
I will do my best to stay as long as I can.
No worries.
I worked all day, and I'm like, ooh, it's hit me. So
if Lacey just kind of like dissolves into the dream space in the middle of this broadcast, that's totally cool. Like it's part of
lay back.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. All right. So we'll keep things moving here. And again, thank you again, everyone, for just being with us. And again, even what Lacey was saying earlier, like for many of you who may just be tuning into our dream discussion circle, like we hope it inspires you. Again, if this is something where you're like, whoa, I want to be a part of this, like definitely, again, like check out the Patreon membership and consider joining that. Cause like the other circles that we do, like Lacey said, that's where we'll get into some of the deeper stuff, like some of the shadow stuff, some of the consistency building and everything like that. So, and just having that space to be able to share stories is super important. I know Lacey maybe even like before Lacey falls asleep might want to be able to share some of their stories depending on the flow of everything today, because I know we want to be able to get into that. So before we get into the prompt, we'll just create a little bit of space if there is anybody that wants to be able to share some stories, and we may limit the prompts today. We may just save some for another time, but let's keep things passing around. Did anybody have anything that just before we do that they felt called to share based on like other things that people were talking about, or maybe if it just kind of like sparked an idea for you guys or anything, or any other suggestions on what makes a good dreamer? So just checking in real quick if there's anybody else that wanted to be able to share relative to that. And if not, then that's cool, and we'll keep passing it around. So let's keep moving things around here. Yeah, so the question that we're going to get into next, and I'll just tell you guys now so you can start thinking about it and even start journaling it now. The question that we're getting into, and the wording for this, it's just kind of, I could probably word it differently, but the basic idea of the question is, what are some of the common or repetitive themes within your dreams, such as people, places, settings, things you do, symbols? So if you guys want to start thinking about that now, I can kind of like prompt you again in a bit, but what are some of the common or repetitive themes within your dreams? So, and again, the reason for that, and after this, I'll pass over to Lacey, and Lacey, maybe you can just like share a quick story before we fall asleep. Again, this is a chance for you to just like take that opportunity to hold space for yourself where you begin to become more aware and you start connecting the dots, and you can almost kind of create like a blueprint of the landscape of your dreams. And once you begin to start becoming more aware of what some of the repetitive themes are, you begin to identify them and recognize them when they begin to happen again, which in turn can almost like begin to cue lucidity, or you just start to look for them. Your consciousness kind of tunes into them a little bit more. So again, this could be, like people, it's like, oh, well, it's like I commonly like hang out with an old friend, or, like maybe it's like something with like my grandparents who passed on, or maybe it's like a past lover. And again, like places, it could be like, oh, like I'm commonly at beaches, or I'm in mountains, or I'm in cabins, or I'm at my old house, or something like that. Again, everyone's probably got like, so as many as you can list. And like I said, if you guys want to start answering this, even as we're going around with a little bit of story sharing, that's totally fine. So, and then again, like settings, like again, I guess setting in places would be more or less the same thing. And actions, like what type of actions are you doing? Are there actions where, it's like, oh, like I'm playing sports, or maybe I'm flying, or maybe I'm time traveling, or something like that, right? That you can get into like pretty like out there stuff. Maybe I'm like creating art, maybe I'm, like dancing and things like that. And again, like symbols in themselves, like the actions can be the symbols, and the symbols could be, again, it could be very, very relative to an individual. Like maybe certain people be like, oh, like I commonly see certain animals within my dreams. Like, are there animals that show up within your dreams? Be like, oh, like I constantly see like foxes and stuff, or I see bears in my dreams, or anything like that. So the symbols can kind of like exist on a variety of levels in terms of what the symbols could be. And even if it's like maybe like, oh, like I dream of like ancient times, and I see like hieroglyphics and those type of symbols as well, or other types of ancient symbols, like, oh, maybe I see sacred geometry, maybe I see like ancient geometric patterns as well, or ancient Celtic knots or something, or whatever the case may be. So again, just if you guys want to start writing that down now, go for it. We'll just basically set this prompt up now, opposed to having to wait. As we're doing this, we'll share a little bit, just open up for a little bit of dream sharing in terms of whoever wants to be able to share like a short version of a dream. And again, when we have our other dream discussion circles, we usually get a little bit more in depth with these, but still it'll just be a chance for us to be able to touch base. And the reason why we share our dreams is also, again, to be able to like document the shift in consciousness through the experience of our dreams. And when we share our dreams for others to be able to hear them, it can also be a powerful prompt to just be able to say like, whoa, if that's possible for them, it's possible for me. This is another example of what can happen within the dream space. Whoa, Lacey time traveled. That means I can time travel too. Whoa, like this person went to an ancient temple. That means I can do it too. So it's helping us to collectively understand a little bit more of the landscape. And then from there, I want to be able to invite you guys to like, through this question, what are some of the common and repetitive themes within your dreams? Talk about it out loud. As you talk about it, as we hold space for each other and you start talking about it, it will start like connecting the dream space in this reality, and the higher consciousness will be like, oh, they're paying attention. Let's start sending them a little bit more of that. So yeah, again, like even for me, like water is like a big, like water would fit is almost like a place and a symbol at the same time. Water is something that I usually dream quite frequently about, and can also be kind of like one of my triggers for lucidity as well. So Lacey, let's just check in with you. Again, I know if you're heading out early, that's totally fine. But Lacey,
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not
So
I'm,
yeah, so I mean,
just sleepy. So.
Oh yeah, totally. So Lacey, if there is anything you want to share relative to the prompts, that's cool.
Yeah, I wrote out like a whole giant list.
Cool. And then from there, if you want to go into a quick relative to like any short stories of anything that's on your mind that you want to be able to share, that may be relative as well.
I can like share a little bit of like what I've been roughly dreaming the past couple weeks, without getting into like full-blown stories, time and place, because mine can be quite long. But so for me and my themes lately, definitely off-grid communities, just meeting up with like-minded people has been a huge thing for me in dream time. A lot of apocalyptic situations, time travel, space travel, portals, superpowers, aliens, entities, shadow people, demons, etc., gods, goddesses, psychedelic experiences. I dream of water a lot. I'm in water, or I'm just a lot of water. for me. Sacred geometry like fractals, or moving through spaces that are very MC Escher like. UFOs, obviously I have a deep connection with extraterrestrial and UFO stuff in dream time. So I've seen like so many different types of crafts. I've gone to many different planets, other worlds, other dimensions, parallel realities, combat scenarios. I do a lot of dancing and art. My cat is biting my butt right now. Also interacting with children a lot. Shay, no wire. Sorry, she's trying to chew the wire. So yeah, I've been dreaming a lot of my baby that's in my belly. So that's a big theme, but I definitely before that, I dreamt of babies and children, whether I was pregnant or helping other women birth babies. So I'm a midwife a lot in my dream time, which is interesting. Yeah, a lot of philosophizing and like moral stuff that goes on. So there's always this deep work that I'm doing, even in dreams that seem kind of mundane or weird, but there'll always be like this internal dialogue, or I'll have conversations with myself through dream time, which is pretty fascinating to wake up from that and think of yourself inside dream time, thinking of yourself. It gets pretty meta, but what else did I write? I like scribbled this down. I'm like, what are all the main things that I dream about? Definitely totem animals, like interacting with animals, shape-shifting into animals. And then it gets a little bit more complex with like lucid dreaming. So that would be like the abilities are a little bit more complex. So world building. I'm trying to think of the stuff that I do when I'm lucid, like
going through portals.
Well, portals are a main aspect of dream time for me. I would say that I'm like a portal jumper, or I just access portals a lot. I don't know why that is, but and then there's obviously themes of like specific types of animals that come to me, whether that's dragons, horses, dogs, things like that, like specific types of animals will come through. And then I'll also sometimes be those animals. Yeah, there's a lot. Like I could probably write so much more that are specific, but that's just what I kind of thought of in the moment. So over the past couple of weeks, for me personally, I haven't been writing my dreams down. So they're other than like basic stuff. So the themes for me have been actually quite heavy. I've seemed to have been like reliving a lot of childhood trauma and trauma of my past, which isn't a common thing for me to dream about. To me, it makes a lot of sense based on my current situation as I'm transforming into a new version of myself. My body is starting to access these inner parts of me that maybe, okay, 1 second. Say, oh my God. She's like attacking the whole wire. Okay. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh, I've been accessing like these like deeper parts of myself during dream time that I feel like I thought that I've already healed, but like they kind of come back up. And then I connected that to being pregnant and how like I am going through this like new transition. So I'm just listening and I'm looking and I'm really just trying to process what it's showing me. And so some of that has been family members or reliving like scenarios or conversations that may have hurt me in the past. So those have been interesting to navigate and wake from. But there's also been a lot of positive as well. There's been a lot of me meeting new people that kind of ignite my heart and make me feel good and are like holding space for me to process these emotions. So I know last time in our dream, me and Brendon's dream discussion, I talked about having this dream where I was like kind of out in the middle of this field, and there's like this group of people there, and we're all just kind of hanging out. Reminds me a lot of like being up on the land, like with Maya, and like just with people that make you feel good. And in this particular, there was a bunch of stuff that happened before that in different dream scenarios, and then it kind of led me to this kind of oasis, this place of peace. And there was this older gentleman combing my hair in the dream, and it was very symbolic. And my feet, water started to pour out of my ankles and surround my feet. Like there was very interesting physical stuff going on for me in that dream, but there was this presence, and there was people holding space for me. And in the distance, there was this temple and this beautiful tree, and there was like this energy coming from it. And I felt like I was in the process of letting some things go, and I just needed to, I guess, like have these dream allies, these guardians hold space for me. So that's another big theme is travelers, dreamers, like other dreamers, higher dimensional realms. So spaces where other dreamers meet up. That's always fun. Ports, like these like places where other, I don't know what to call them, but travelers like are all meeting up there together, and they're also like, going throughout the universe, and it's super cool to kind of interact with those type of people as well in dream time. But I hope I'm not rambling too much, but there's been a lot of themes throughout my dream journey. Lately it's been like, I've been surfing a lot, which is cool. There's usually like this huge wave that's like coming towards, like the one dream I was in like this intentional community, and there was this, out in the distance, I could see there was this huge wave coming, which would kind of seem ominous and freaky. I was like, oh shit. But then I was like, we should probably go surfing. I was like, let's go surfing. So we all went surfing, and it was like really, really fun. And I was like happy with myself to be able to navigate that dream in a way that maybe wouldn't have been so positive, but I don't know. My internal self decided to, instead of fight the situation, was to go with the flow. And I learned a lot from that one. So yeah, anyways, there's a lot to talk about. I'll pass the talking stick because I can talk a lot. So
Thank you, Lacey. Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of those dreams where, in a lot of ways, I feel like dreams are kind of like, they're like giving us like blueprints for the future. And especially when it's like those intentional circles, those intentional spaces, those type of dreams always really kind of like have a special place in my heart, where, it's like, I'm sure a lot of us are probably having like kind of like a whole yin and yang thing of dreams, where it's like some of our dreams are like apocalyptic, but then at the other time, you also have these dreams that are very, again, kind of the vision of the new earth. And I love these dreams where we are in these like intentional spaces and intentional circles. And honestly, just like tuning into a community like this is very, can be very helpful for even just kind of like activating into the frequency of those dreams. And really just putting forth that intention, like anyone here at any moment. That's part of the prompts we want to get into, is like, like what are some of our intentions for our dream practice? But it's like really just kind of be like, oh, like I want to be able to align my frequency with those dreams, where not only are we just imagining these scenarios, but theoretically, as dreamers, we're actually meeting up within these scenarios, meeting up within these spaces. So imagine if we start utilizing dreams, again, kind of like as this technology, where much like a virtual reality or a video game, we can basically say, hey, let's go meet around the fire. Let's go meet around the dream. Let's go converse. Let's go celebrate. Let's go dance. Let's go hang out within this astral dimension. And 100%, that's definitely possible. And again, I think that's kind of like another stage within the evolution of dream consciousness that we have the capacity to be able to move into. So it's very exciting to think that we're just kind of scratching the surface of dreams, and to even just imagine, ancestors and civilizations before us or even beyond us, what is their relationship like with dreams? And for them, dreams could be similar but quite different for them, where they're literally using dreams as, again, as this very powerful space, where they're doing work and they're creating and they're crystallizing things from the etheric into the physical dimension. And the last thing I'll just say here real quick, and I want to pass it around, it's very interesting to imagine, and this may be like a bit of a paradigm shift for some people, that, you know, to us, dreams are one thing where we enter into it when we go to sleep. For other consciousness, what we recognize as layers of the dream space, to them may not be a dream, may actually be like where their consciousness resides, or maybe they're like in some sort of like aspect of reality, future, parallel, or whatever, where they actually like have the ability to literally be able to like travel through dream space. Again, like imagine it's kind of like a, again, kind of like a technology. Like imagine that there are actually these people that exist within these realms where it's like a real present moment for them, and they're growing old through in these spaces. But to them, they have the ability to be able to actually traverse the dream space, kind of like this hyper network where they can kind of come and go to different spaces. And again, you know, like Lacey will probably be able to talk about that at some point. And she has in past dream classes where, and others as well, where like you meet these people within dreams, and it's just like, they're real. Like they're not just like a reflection of your imagination. Some of them are, but you get other people and it's just like, whoa, like who are you? Like are you like some person from the future that's like has the ability to be able to like travel through time and through space, and what we identify as the dream realm from our perspective, but from their perspective, maybe it's something a little bit different. It starts to open my mind into like this whole understanding of what dreams are, where for us, you know, it's like when we go to sleep, we're just kind of, that's one way into this space, but perhaps there are others that already exist in this space, and it's a different relationship. The simple way that I've explained dreams before, and I'll just say this real quick to try and comprehend it, is dreams are closer to the space from where we come from. So basically, like before we're born into this incarnation, is the dream space actually like where we come from as soul, and then we kind of come into this physical dimension, and yet every night when we go to sleep we kind of go back to that space. So, you know, like it's which came first, the physical reality or the dream space? Very simply put, I would say whatever the dream space is, that came first. This is what came quote unquote after, and then we go back to that space when we dream. But again, that's just one of the ways that I try to be able to comprehend the mystery of it. But if that resonates for you, then, you know, feel free to play with that idea. Let's keep passing the talk and stick around, guys. We'll keep an eye on the clock, but Lacey, go ahead. And then after that, anybody who wants to go next, just go ahead and raise your hand, and then we'll pass it over to you guys. Helena, we'll pass it over to you after that. Go ahead, Lacey. Yep.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I was just like, sorry, I left for a second, but I came in when you were saying like, yeah, like these other beings, like these people, like, you know, a lot of the time when we dream, we'll either be traveling very inwards, or, you know, like there's a lot of different layers to the dream experience, and like it depends on where you're at and where you need to be in that particular moment. But it is fascinating when, say, you're lucid dreaming and you're in these spaces where you're interacting with characters, but they look like real people. And for me, I tend to like to ask who they are. I don't know why that's my first thing that I do, but like I've gotten people's names. So I have, I guess you would call, reoccurring dream allies that have completely shifted my perspective of reality. And I've told Brendon about like Valerie and Thaddeus and a couple of these other very interesting. Thaddeus was actually from the past, and Valerie was from like the very, very far future. And she had a light ship and she could do some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, like she showed me stuff that I was like, okay, like I will try to digest that the best I can, because I am, whether or not I'm like this multidimensional being, I'm housed in this physical body currently. So when I'm bringing that information back, it's still pretty far out. It's cool to get to share that with Brendon and all you guys, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a dream. But for me, it was profound. It was something that I was given to bring back to the collective. So Yeah, so there's these dreams that are just like, it's so layered. It's not one shoe size fits all either. Like the doors are like, the possibilities are quite endless of the experiences you can have and the things you can see and people you can meet. It's very exciting. Like, definitely get excited because it's so much fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The concept of dreams, like, it sounds like it's something out of like some sort of like epic science fiction graphic novel or something like that. Like it's crazy. And there are people that have like written graphic novels have been inspired by dreams. Anyways, one thing I'll just say and pass over to Helena, and Helena actually kind of like talked about this earlier, where again, you know, as dreamers, I think it's important for us to identify with the role of us being like voyagers, and our role is to kind of like go to these places, but then also as a voyager, what do we bring back with us? And kind of like what Helena was talking about earlier, where we're not always dreaming for just us. Sometimes we experience these things to come back and to say, this is what I saw, this is what may be possible for others as well. So Helena, I'll pass over to you, and then we'll pass over to Alicea after that, and then we'll just kind of keep going with the flow. So Helena, anything you want to share related to the question prompt or whatever is on your heart, feel free.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, I have like this list too of like reoccurring things. Like I said, yeah, earlier, messages for others has always been, I think, the strongest recurring theme for me, with, and also like prophetic dreams, and having messages for people so that certain things may not come to pass. It's a big theme for me. Yeah, specific astral places, like I call them astral hubs, where like there are other dreamers that I see actively in that space. Animal totems and becoming those animal totems as well. Water, again, huge in all of its forms. Otherworldly stuff and interdimensional beings, and my cats. My cats are in my dreams almost every night. It seems like there's a lot of parallel realms that I access, and that seems to be a really big reoccurring thing. A lot of the messages that I receive seem to be coming from like these parallel realms. I actually dream a lot of like subterranean earth spaces, and as well, like buildings are really significant in my dreams, and whatever level of the building, like whatever floor I'm on, is kind of significant towards like what part of my consciousness I'm in. And galactic and cosmic travel, lots of fairies, and like the fair folk are there a lot. I often dream, anytime I have a female friend who's pregnant, I often know exactly when they're going to give birth, before they give birth. That comes up a lot. And people who are dancing with death come to me a lot. And I kind of become like a death doula in the dream space a lot, like assisting people as they're passing. And those seem very much like I'm actually connecting to somebody in the physical. A lot of dreams in the UK and Ireland. I have really strong roots there, ancestrally. Lots of mundane stress dreams, just like decompressing, taking the mental garbage out kind of stress dreams. Healing and releasing from trauma, kind of like non-speakable things that you need to address in your waking life that almost you can't deal with any other way. That happens a lot for me. And then also like a lot of shape-shifting people, where like someone is presenting as somebody I know in waking life, but I know it's not them, and it's another being that has like shape-shifted into that appearance, is pretty common. All kinds of other things, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Helena. Again, wonderful just to be able to have everyone just kind of like putting these pieces on the table. It's beautiful to just kind of see the collective of what it is that we dream here together. So let's keep passing the talking stick around. Alicea, and then, or Lacey, go ahead, and then we'll pass over to Alicea just to reply to anything that Helena said.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, wow, like our dream, like Helena, like our dream themes are very, very similar in a lot of ways. Like it's pretty, like I also have strong roots to like Scotland, Ireland, and that. So I dream a lot of that space as well. And just like these shapeshifter people, like it's cool to hear other people having very similar themes. That's all I wanted to say. I'm like, yes, and the fairy realm, the fae folk, of course. So super cool.
Absolutely. And again, yeah, like a big part of us just having this prompt was so that we could begin to see some of the common themes. Like I wanted other people in the circle to like hear something that somebody else was saying, be like, oh, like you saying that actually reminded me that that's actually something I dream about. And then for us to kind of like start looking at these like collective things, like why are we dreaming these things is a great question to kind of like add to that layer. We'll pass over to Alicea, and then who would like to be able to go after that? Just go ahead and put your hand up now, and pass over to Maya after that. So Alicea, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. You guys are blowing my mind over here. I'm like, whoa, there are so many. It is like triggering, like, you know, like, yeah, like I'm dreaming about that shit too, especially this whole concept of like meeting with other travelers. I'm like, oh, that is what is going on, like a traveler hub, you know, who are all these other people that seem so real, you know. So thank you so much to all of you for sharing. I'm hoping you guys can help me if it comes up and you feel called to share about. I'm really trying to grasp this concept of like differentiating being in a quantum space and quantum field, or astral traveling and dreaming and daydreaming, like separating them, you know. Like I just went to my fridge and took a bite of moose that's been calling my name, and I closed my eyes and I'm like in a quantum field, you know, and I'm having a vision of a crane on my shoulder, and then I'm turning into the crane and flying away and scooping up a fish. Like, what are the differences between all these different spaces? You know, if anybody can speak to that, because more and more, and this is growing stronger, where I'm like, I'm closing my eyes and I'm just like in a different space, you know, and I don't know if I need more grounding to be more grounded, or I'm trying to gain some control of this. I mean, I'm up for the exploration and all. I just be nice to have more clarity. And thank you so much, whoever said, you know, even asking for help, like, who are you? Asking who are you, and asking for clarity and asking for help from our, you know, angelic helpers and loved ones and stuff like that. But thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we can take a moment here just to be able to again just address the question that you had there. And that's a question that, like, I think being able to explore that is great. In order to be able to land on a specific answer may be a bit of a challenge depending on our perspective on it. But again, it seems to be that it's like, you know, for some of us, it's like there's where we are right now, but then, you know, like we're almost always like the imagination never stops, like the activity of the mind and kind of like the activity of the spirit, like it's always like this wheel that's constantly turning. So it makes sense that when we do kind of like close our eyes, again, we kind of like open ourselves to like the projection of the imagination. But then at the same time, I think it's like also depending on what our relationship is like with that imagination, if we're just understanding that that's just kind of like a projection on a screen that we're just seeing for a moment, or like almost as if we're just kind of like we're seeing a screen within our mind, opposed to feeling as if we're going to that place immediately. It's kind of like the slight difference between, you know, like watching a movie and opposed to like disassociating and thinking you're in the movie, so to speak. Like how often, like, you know, if you're in a movie theater and you're like, you know, you're watching Jaws and you start freaking out because you think you're about to get eaten by a shark. It's like, no, you don't do that because you know you're watching a movie. So I'm trying to think of like maybe this metaphor works, but like within, I feel like just those like moments where you kind of like, even if you're like starting to fall asleep sometimes and you kind of like have those like weird visions just kind of like enter. And again, I don't think my answer is like the ultimate answer or something like that, but I feel like in those circumstances, just kind of like my consciousness projecting an image on a screen, and then I'm just kind of like seeing it. But I feel like when we're sleeping, specifically when we go into those REM states and like the body falls asleep, but the mind again kind of like shifts into that layer of consciousness and the astral body begins to travel, that is a different experience. That's where I feel like we're actually like going somewhere. That's where like we like enter into the virtual reality of the experience. Whereas like those things within the day, it's kind of like we're like projecting that onto a screen within our mind. Maybe, I don't know, does that resonate kind of with anybody else? I again, like that's an interesting question to kind of explore. So I know Lacey has her hand up as well. So Alicea, does that kind of make sense? And then Lacey, if you want to add on to that.
Yeah, it totally does. Like hearing you say that, and I can differentiate between those two. I'm trying to find common ground because like even when, I mean, this eclipse that just passed like really kicked my ass a bit, and I like just kept falling into this sleep realm, but it was a very deep sleep, but I kept coming back awake. And there is a difference of like, okay, when you are, you know, not in your body, you know, like not in your body. So I understand what you're saying. And that, I mean, that does answer my question. I guess I'm trying to find just more ground in between like all of them.
Yeah.
I have more work to do.
And that's totally fine. And I do think that like wherever you are, I think the process of like finding that grounding practice for you is always going to be significant, you know? So it's just kind of like finding that place to bring yourself back to the breath, even if that means just kind of like, it's like, you know, just like, okay, maybe I need to like get some water, take some fresh air, you know, whatever the case may be. But I mean, grounding in any circumstance, I think is good. Just kind of like bring yourself back to a place of realization into the present moment that you're in, opposed to getting too disassociated and kind of like being in two places at once. But again, it's hard for me to speak on that because it's only from my own experience, and everybody else here has their own. Lacey, go ahead. You can share, and then again, anybody else who wanted maybe share on this, but then we'll pass it over to Maya shortly after that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different perspective on that specifically. I would say that both are equally as real and tangible and meaningful. I think the biggest thing when it comes to grounding, you might be even unlocking an aspect of yourself that is new. I'm not entirely sure like your history with not necessarily channeling, but like if you're like the veil is really thin, then a lot of information can come through. And you don't have to be just asleep to travel outside your body. We actually can travel outside our body wide awake. So I think the biggest thing for us is being able to ground into that and integrate what is being shown to us in a way that isn't affecting our productivity or like how, does this make sense? So it's like, we're letting it come to us and move through us. And a great thing would be like having that experience and still journaling about it and still journaling about those experiences, whether or not you're asleep. Because out-of-body experiences are very, very real. Trance experiences are real. That's what monks do. That's what great spiritual people, like teachers do. They're able to enter those spaces without even falling asleep. So it's actually cool. It's a gift. And I think that it's really, really fascinating. And I think being able to know that they're equally as real. That's just my opinion on what you said there, Alicea. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And that really resonates, that I feel like, you know, I am unlocking, you know, just hitting some new levels where it's like I am a divine channel, you know, and it's just like, whoa, like what is all this shit coming in? By the way, # dream bubble book, wrote that down.
Dream bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could even put like your, like, you know, how you're having those daily things come to you. And like, I think that's so beautiful how you talked about the crane. And I'm like, oh, that's such a powerful animal. And I've dreamt of this. So definitely write it down, look into it, be like, what's coming through? Why is this being shown to me? Because it's meant for you and it's real for you, and that's meaningful. So yeah.
Thank you, Lacey. Thank you, Lisa. Helena, I know your hand's up, so just in response to this, go ahead. And Kyle, I know you have your hand up, and Maya, if there's anything else you want to jump in even on this before we pass it around, relative to what we were going to pass around originally, that's fine. Let's just take a moment here again, just kind of like explore what we were exploring with this topic. So Helena, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing, Alicea. It's super beautiful. And I think a big thing that could be helpful, especially if it sounds like you're starting to access these spaces and not really knowing how to categorize them, what to call them, what it is that's happening. I think just ask yourself, what was that space? And like, where is that in my consciousness? And ask, even if it's just asking yourself, maybe it is in your belief system that you're asking some kind of other being, some kind of angelic being or something. Maybe do that, and trust the answer that you get. And then you can start kind of developing like where you're going. And then, because it sounds like that's important to you. And also, as far as, not becoming totally ungrounded, I think that's hugely important, especially when people are first accessing those layers, to just also, like, go into it as much as you feel the desire to, but also be able to just set it aside and be like, wow, that happened. Now I'm here. So that it doesn't become, so loud in your space all the time. And to let it be what it was, and then, go on with your day. That's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Helena, and I agree. Like, having those techniques to just be able to, again, kind of like bring ourselves back to this present moment can be incredibly helpful. And if anything, it's kind of like, it's like tuning our frequency. So like, kind of like, it's becoming more aware of the control that we have to tune our frequency. So kind of like when we're in that kind of like daydream mode, again, sometimes you can kind of like move into that accidentally. Maybe you're bored, maybe you're just like sitting around doing nothing in particular. But at the same time, you can intentionally tune into that space and even kind of set the intention, just be like, okay, like any downloads coming through, anything I want to be able to receive. And at the same time, you can also enter that space to be able to practice imagining, practice kind of like projecting onto the screen, kind of like what I was saying. But again, just kind of like having the ability to be able to say like, okay, I was tuned into that for a bit, and now I'm going to tune my frequency to the present moment of this physical reality. And then just kind of like having that familiarity with kind of those mechanisms where it's just like, okay, like what helps me ground back into this reality. And again, that could be again, it could be like kind of even just like touching your hand, kind of like reorienting yourself with your physical body, with your textures. Again, kind of like smelling, breathing, like the physical sensations, like tapping into any of the physical sensations can be good to kind of like bring yourself into the present moment. And yeah, maybe even just kind of like drinking some water, going out, just kind of like hugging a tree if you need to, exercise, things like that. But again, just kind of giving yourself the confidence to be able to know that that's your consciousness tuning to one frequency, and then you have the ability to be able to tune it to another frequency, and just kind of having the ability to kind of like be confident with your ability to flex the muscle of tuning your consciousness, if that makes sense, because then eventually you begin to be able to tune it more at will, opposed to it being kind of like more spontaneous, so to speak. But again, the mind is a complicated thing, and I'm sure everybody's got their own relationship with it as well, so there's no one specific answer, but we're here to explore the question. So Alicea, thank you. Lacey, go ahead. You want to share something on that? Because again, I know, or did you want to share something on that? I wasn't sure if was that no? Okay. All right. Kyle, your hand's up from a while ago. I think I might have accidentally missed that. Was there anything you wanted to share either just on this or a while back, and then we'll pass over to Maya? And then Kristen, I know you got your hand up too.
Yeah, Lacey was saying something about it's like a hub. It's like where we hang out, and it just triggered what I've had from my one dream where I'm traveling, and I always go to the spot where it's like a mountain and water. It's like turquoise waters, and kind of reminds me of like Nelson, BC a bit. And as soon as you said hub, or it's like a place where people meet or beings meet, it just clicked. I was like, yeah, it always feels like you're at some you're at some sort of like convention or something. You know what I mean? Like, how does that feel? And I can never explain it. So when you said that, I'm like, oh, sweet. Like that's exactly what it is.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing for us as a community to be able to kind of, again, like envision those hubs that we're creating through intention. Like we can actually just kind of, and that's something we talk about in our past broadcasts, this idea of like meeting up at the dream tree. And you guys, even just with that idea right now, can set that intention, be like, oh, let's put that intention as we go to sleep to be like, let's meet up with the rest of the crew at the dream tree, or again at some sort of hub of whatever the case may be. That will be stuff that we'll talk more about in future dream discussion circles. So again, if you guys are looking to dive into that, definitely stick around and join that membership. Kristen, did you want to share something, and then we'll pass it over to Maya based on the previous question?
Okay. Yeah, I have dreams about like weird weather. And often like I return to the same houses that are like half imaginary, half memories. And particularly one of my old places, I'll be there, but I can see the neighbor's yard and there's different weather happening just there. Like it's like there's this storm centralized, and it's happened at some other dream houses too, where the house, like where I am, has a specific kind of weather, and then there's like some wild weather next door. And it's not like it's kind of a combination of like earth weather and cosmic weather. It's kind of like there's a storm, but there's like twinkly star looking stuff going on, but it can look ominous. But yeah, and I have heaps of dreams of the ocean as well, like just different states of the sea and weather over the top of the ocean as well. But yeah, definitely dreams where I've returned to houses that I've never been to that are really complex and have lots of different rooms. And I know that if I go all the way down here, it'll come out to this backyard that's got another little house out the back. Even if I don't actually go there in the dream, it's like a dream neighborhood or something that I've gone to, it feels like. And yeah, so that's pretty much a lot of my dreams are very earth related. I'm like my big 3 astrological placements are all earth, and I am just an extremely grounded person. And so yeah, it's other realmy but not, it's just like other realm earth feelings, and then and weather. But I also wanted to respond to what Alicea said, because I'm also in the last like 2 years been really opening to my own psychic gifts in waking life, like a tarot reader and like guides speaking to me and all that kind of thing. And it's all really exciting when it starts to like emerge. And I've been working for myself for 4 years doing my crystals. I also often dream about crystals because I work with crystals so often. But because I kind of roll with my own schedule, because I work for myself, I can tap into those intuitive meditative states. Like they're all free access to me all the time because I can choose to drop into them. And I recently had to do a bit of like work on myself with the fact that I was spending a bit too much time tapping into the divine intuitive, and that my human self was like feeling like it was losing its sovereignty because I was on this intuitive path like permanently all the time. But my human self just like, what about us? And it's not that I would detach and be in another realm or anything, but it was just that the choices I was making were always informed by these other guidance systems, rather than like my human instinct and trying to marry the two. And anyway, I'm really excited for you opening up to your gifts. And then I just wanted to just like drop that little piece of like, don't like if it's happening in the day when you're just going about your business, to still have a lot of value in your human self and maintaining that sovereignty amongst the gifts, because they can run away with you sometimes. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much for that. That really does resonate. And you know what, you saying like how you have your own schedule, that's what my life has been. You know, I don't know what day of the week it is basically, but it's like finding that, you know, the balance between, you know, this reality and all the other realities that we're living in. But thank you so much.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Alicea. And yeah, I think what was I going to say? Yeah, again, I think it is always important to kind of like remember, you know, like with dreaming, like like we are the kind of like these higher dimensional beings, but then it's like part of the journey is like, how do we kind of like integrate this higher dimensional energy into like the 3D body? You know, it's like not like we're just literally just here to just like go off. And I think sometimes we can kind of like go off, but I think depending on the relationship that we cultivate, it's important to kind of like begin to bring some of those visions back into the material world. And that's where, again, when you do kind of have those visions, write them down, like journal them to the best of your ability, even if it's just entering it into your phone. And I think that's where like a lot of like, you know, even people that kind of resonate with the idea of being like seers and prophets and stuff like that, that's what a lot of that would be. It would be kind of like those fleeting images that come through. Sometimes they're just nothing theoretically, you know, sometimes they're just like random. And I've noticed that, like, even, and I'll just share this real quick and pass it to Maya. I'm sure some people have that where like maybe you're just kind of like in that stage where you're just starting to fall asleep, and then you'll kind of like fall asleep, and then like you'll just like, whoa, like something, like you'll just imagine like something really weird, like hard to even explain, but then like you open your eyes and literally like a second later you forget it, but in that moment you're just like, whoa, like I was like, that was something, but then you instantly forget it. So it's like, even in those moments, to just kind of anticipate those moments and maybe just kind of get, if you want to, you don't have to do this. This can be based on what you feel called to do, but you can kind of get into those habits where, you know, like if you do find yourself just kind of more prone to accessing those kind of like quick, instantaneous, like micro dreams. It's like instantly accessing like a little bit of a dream message that just comes through in like 1 second. And I think to be able to journal those would give you the ability to just begin to kind of like unpack them and perhaps begin to make more sense of them and develop a relationship and be like, oh, maybe those can be something that might inspire a message, or for myself or others, or art or something of the matter as well. So again, I'm figuring it out along with you guys. Maya, thank you so much for your patience. Sorry about that. I know we kind of like got into another fractal of conversations there, but let's keep passing it around. And shortly after this, we're going to combine the second and third prompt into one question, and then we'll get close to wrapping this up. So Maya, go ahead. And again, we're talking about the like the common themes within our dreams, plus anything else that you want to share as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to mention first, it's a little off topic, but interesting that I think it was Kyle mentioned Nelson, BC, and I am in Nelson, BC right now. This is my home. So I thought that was kind of cool. So some common themes that go on lately, I feel like I've been dreaming like about a lot of like crowds and people. There's been just like so many people, which is sort of like interesting for the times we're in, because like crowds are not really like a huge thing right now, but like apparently in my dreams they are. So that is definitely one thing that I've noticed. And then a few of the things that came up that I thought about were I've had a lot of healing in my dreams. Healing hugs have been like a really big one, where I'll like meet up with somebody where whether it's somebody I know, but I feel like often it's somebody I don't know, and they are, or sort of like an acquaintance or something, and they're offering me this hug, and it's very healing and warm and energetically just like sort of like recalibrating me. And yeah, that's been a really neat one. Lots of animals have come through for me. I dream about a lot of animals, which I love because I just love animals. And also water. I know a lot of you mentioned that one. It's been a big one for me. Definitely. And I will like look at the water in my dream and to see whether it's like murky, or whether it's crystal clear, or whether it's a big wave, or whether it's, you know, calm, or what I'm doing with the water. Just like that to me really symbolizes like sort of where I'm at in my emotional state and like what I'm going through. And I've also had lots of dreams with portals. I know Lacey mentioned that one, going through these spaces. And I've also sort of recently dreamt a lot about India. I don't really know why exactly. I do feel like it's been a past life thing for me. So I feel like my dream space brings me there. And then I've also dreamt a lot about like being outside of myself and like looking at myself from the outside, which is always really neat. And I know Lacey also mentioned this one too, was pregnancy and midwifery in dream time and or giving birth. And I feel like that's definitely been a theme for me also. And I've also had a good handful of psychic dreams, which I definitely always appreciate. And I also have had lots of dreams with dogs and them like cuddling up to me. They're sort of like reminiscent of the healing hug, where like the dog is here, bringing this sort of like healing energy. And then I also have had lots of dreams where if I've just met a person or am interested in knowing them, I'll like have a dream about them and sort of like somehow like understand them or know things about them through my dream, almost on like a psychic level in a way, or I'll understand my relation to them more clearly through the dream that I have. That's happened a lot. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Maya, so much for sharing. And again, I've seen a lot of common themes mentioned from others so far in the circle as well. And one thing I'll just say, and then again, we'll just open it up for any other responses, and if anybody else wanted to be able to share on this prompt, and then we'll get into the next one. And at this point, we'll be done by 11 at the latest. Again, very, very important is to be able to understand that dreams communicate through the language of symbols on one level. And so like symbols are like the primordial language of the soul. So like that's where, again, like even through like the creation of the tarot deck and everything like that, like it's archetypes, it's symbols and stuff. So like the language that dreams communicate to us is through symbolism. And that's where, again, like oftentimes the symbolism is like, it's like showing us our internal emotional weather projected onto an external thing. So kind of like what Maya was saying, if the water is clear, maybe that means you're emotionally clear. If the water is murky, maybe that means you're emotionally murky, sort of thing. Like maybe if you're like connecting with a child within your dream in a playful way, maybe that's you kind of like connecting with like you're wanting to be able to develop more of that relationship to your inner child, or more of that playfulness energy in so many ways. Any of the animals that you see, like the animal totems, like each of them kind of carry a specific energy to them. If you have a dream where maybe you're seeing like a hawk, or maybe you become a hawk, like a lot of that, if you were to interpret that through symbolism, it's like, what is the nature of the hawk? It's like, oh, okay, like higher perspective, vision, like kind of being able to be the navigator of my reality. So there's kind of like a way that you can begin to kind of like train yourself to look at things and then to see it from the surface level, and then like the kind of like esoteric subliminal level, the symbolism level of things. And you can start to kind of even doing that within your physical reality through like synchronicities that begin arising. But it is something that you can just kind of begin to train your mind to start looking for in a lot of ways. So if anybody here maybe just kind of wants to be able to explore a little bit about looking at the themes and everything within our dreams, and looking at them as a way to be able to decode the symbolism and the communication between dreams. And it's interesting because like dreams, if I were to look at it from one level, like dreams are a conversation. Literally, if you were to just try and understand like what are dreams are a conversation between yourself and the universe, between yourself and your soul, between yourself and your higher guides, whatever the case may be. And it's interesting because like as much as dreams are a projection of our own internal emotional landscape and our consciousness and everything like that, the fascinating thing that I love about dreams is that it seems to be that there is like another party that inputs things into our dreams. Like they're like, we're in like our dream space, and like they're like outside of it, and they can input things. They put things into our dreams. At least that's one way that I've observed them. Like what like that's fascinating. So that's where you get into this idea that like our guides and ancestors and angels, or whatever you want to call them, like they have the ability to put things into our dreams. And those things often arise through symbols, but sometimes they're like varying degrees of obviousness, and sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's blatant in a lot of ways. So when you begin to look for that and begin to decipher it, you can begin to kind of like awaken from a dream and almost kind of like read it like as if you would a tarot reading. sort of thing. And you begin to kind of like see it as like, oh, maybe this is something I need to meditate more on or become more aware of, or even just reflect, how did that make me feel? Whatever the case may be, even if you don't fully know the full on detail of the symbolism of your dream, great thing to ask yourself when you wake up is like, how did that make me feel? And then just kind of, because that's the thing, like the dream, the purpose of the dream isn't to just happen. The purpose of the dream can sometimes be to happen to initiate reflection upon waking. And then the reflection upon waking is actually the reason for the dream. Oh man, in that dream, I got into an argument with my friend. You wake up, man, I really didn't feel very good about that. You know what? I haven't talked to them in a while. I'm going to reach out to them and see how they're doing. And then suddenly it kind of creates a synchronicity that sparks something. And they're like, oh, I was thinking about you the other day. So it's like, you can kind of see how it's all like hyperdelic and interconnected and stuff like that. Does that resonate with you guys? Do you guys want to just dive into this a little bit longer, and then we'll go into the next prompt, and then we'll be done before we all fall asleep on air. It's going to happen, guaranteed. But yeah, what do you guys think on the topic of just kind of like decoding symbolism within dreams as well? Lacey, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say like a lot of my, like when I'm diving into my own dream time and there's usually a lot of symbolism, a lot of interesting symbolism too, and the way that it manifests through dream time can be quite literal or quite like completely catch you off guard. Like some of the most fascinating symbolism I find is when it takes place in like physical manifestations. So like, for example, because I was just writing more like themes down that I dream about, and I wrote like injury or sickness or diagnosing like ailments within myself or within others. So it was like sometimes I'll have like weird, like something happened to my body, like a pain might be in the dream, or like some weird gross thing happens and I'm like, what the heck? But it makes so much sense. Like if I dive deeper into the symbolic nature of, say, that particular part of my body, or the nature of the illness that's being presented, it always blows my mind. Like the dream is quite literally telling you this very deep metaphor through that imagery and through that symbol. So yeah, I wrote that down because like I don't think any of us talked about that particularly. And I've had dreams where, you know, there is stuff going on with my physical body, and then I wake up and I'm like, what does that mean? Like what? It could be so weird. I don't even know how to give an example, but you look and you're like, okay, like holy shit, like this makes so much sense. So yeah, so like it's endless, like, and I think Alicea, is that how you say it? No, Kristen, she said that like, yeah, there's just so much themes and symbols in our dreams, and yeah, I'm tired, but I'm like, man, it's pretty cool, and you just have to like look because it's individual to each of us. Like that's what Kristen was saying. It's like it's individual. So like you might not find like a book that's gonna give you all the like, you know, in depth for those. What I actually do though is I have some books on like archetypes throughout time, and I've showed Brendon this, and it's like it talks about not just like, for example, it could be like a serpent, like a snake, and a lot of us know what that represents throughout like religious belief systems, and snakes usually tend to bring up fear in a lot of people. But what do they actually represent? Like not just in like the Christian like biblical sense, but like the broader sense throughout art, throughout history, throughout spirituality. And then you're dreaming of, say, giving birth to a snake, which I did. I gave birth to, in one of my dreams, I gave birth to a giant, what are they called? Oh shit, I can't think of the name. It's like a giant, like ancient serpent, and I gave birth to it. But the craziest part about the dream is I gave birth to this this snake, and it grew in size, and then it gave birth to other eggs that hatched other eggs that hatched other snakes. Like, it was really trippy. I was like, what the fuck? But I looked up in this book that I have, it doesn't just base it on like a mundane, like, oh, you must be, afraid of something in your waking life, or you're not facing something. It was way more complex. So definitely look into history and look, if you're very curious, like, study that particular symbol, like, study it and see what it means, because most time than not, you're like, holy shit, like, this means transformation. This means like rebirth. Like, there's so much more there that can uncover. So yeah.
Indeed.
As I fall asleep over here, I'm like half in this world.
Go for it,
now.
Lacey. Report back to us from the dream space. We'll do an entire podcast from the dream space in the future. So yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Again, like, the symbolism, like, it's interesting because something may show up within a dream, and then it prompts you to look into it within this reality, and then suddenly that like activates something else within your journey. It like opens up a side quest for you. I know Lacey has had that a lot of times, where there's like things she'll meet in dreams. Like, this to me blows my mind, where there's like something that Lacey will dream of that she has never heard of within this waking reality, and then we cross-reference it, and it's like an actual historical mythological creature, or a being, or a god, or a deity that she had never heard of, and yet it was in her dream, and she was like, that was it, like, I saw that in my dream. So again, it's like, when we're accessing dreams, are we actually accessing like this like other plane of existence that exists, that even our ancestors have accessed equally, and then they end up writing it into their history and their mythology and stuff. And you look at a lot of like the Chinese, they have all of these beings. Like, where do you think those beings are? Like, they're from the dream realm. They're from like these like astral etheric planes and stuff like that. Yeah, Lacey, I know we talked about that in one of our other dream discussion circles, but yeah, go ahead, Lacey, before you fall asleep.
One of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
Because I do dream a lot of stuff that I actually have no knowledge of in this waking reality currently that I'm aware of. And I tend to access a lot of Akashic record kind of places. So I don't know if they're necessarily my past lives or something like that, or it necessarily has anything to do with me. But for example, which I love sharing this example of just downloading information, is I had a dream where I feel like it may have been a past life, like in Tibet or in like China, like those areas. I tend to dream a lot of their mythical creatures that I don't have a lot of knowledge of their culture or their even their spirituality or their past, but for some reason I dream a lot about those places. And specifically that snake dream I was talking about actually took place in China. So there you go. So it was like the structure that I was in a forest, like that, like it was all there. So like weird enough. So I go there a lot, but in this particular dream, and I've told Brendon this one, where I I accessed this place where I was on top of a mountain, like at the side of a mountain, and I kind of came to consciousness. There's this little old woman there, and she was Chinese, or she was Asian. I'm not entirely sure, but she was there, and she greeted me, and she took me outside of my little makeshift camp that I was staying in, and she's like, follow me, like come with me. And as I was moving through this landscape, which was this very snowy mountainous landscape, I had this out-of-body experience where I traveled high above the landscape, almost to like a Google Maps version of the landscape, and saw the mountain range from above, and then the words etched into the surface of the landscape were Cho, like CHO. And I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell that means. And so we continued on, and she led me to the doors of like Shambhala, like to enter like this sacred place. And she told me like only she gave me this very like philosophical, like this internal work that I had to do in order to enter the gates to this place. But aside from that, when I woke up, I was like, did I just make that up? Like, I'm like, what does Cho even mean? So I researched it. And this is where it gets pretty cool. So I researched it. And I'm like, am I remote viewing, or am I like, what did I just do? Like, what was that? It's an actual place in China. It's actually a mountain range, a particular mountain called Cho, and it's right by Mount Everest. It's not the tallest mountain, but it's in the same mountain range, and it's near Mount Everest. And there you go. And I dreamt of that location. I went there, and there was a sacred portal doorway into Hollow Earth, or whatever you want to call it. So I still don't understand. I even researched, like, have people gone on this mountain? I'm like, maybe there is some secret doorway there that no one knows about, but it has been explored. People do climb that mountain quite often, but I have never heard of it until I dreamt it. So there you go. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my favorite, because I'm like, what? Where's this word come from? And sometimes words, phrases, different languages, like I can speak in a totally different language. I don't know if other people get that. I should write that in the theme. I can speak fluent French, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm speaking these languages. I only speak one language. It's crazy to me. It's cool though.
Yeah, and I know, and again, that's stuff I'm sure we'll save for another dream discussion, where Lacey and I have had discussions of like literally like going into versions of her past life where we lived in France, and so it's just like, oh, like maybe we speak French because there's a version of us that has spoken French previously, and then within dreams, like the future and the past and the present all kind of like fold into each other. So like anything that's within our genetic history or something like that, or our soul history, not even just our genetic history, suddenly is like still in this present moment. So that's pretty fascinating, and I love that idea. And again, this is not for today's topic, but just something to kind of like think about where, and again, I feel ancient cultures, like we're aware of this, we're basically like on this earth plane, there's kind of like this earth plane, and then there's like this earth plane when perceived through the astral realm, and then from that access of the astral realm, there's like actual like portals in the earth, like across the earth, like different energetic centers and stuff like that. So like, you know, there's weird places and parts of the earth where there's like a side of a hill or a mountain, and it looks like as if there's a gate there, but in our physical dimension it's just rock. But then if you were to visit that place well in the dream time, that would actually be like a gate in a portal or something like that, and you would like activate it. And this is where like even like the stone circles on this dimension, they're just stone circles. On the astral plane, the dream space, you go there and they're like nexus points, they're gateways, you like travel through them and stuff like that. And I know even just mentioning that idea for some people would be like, oh my god, that makes sense. And that's where like setting that intention to like visit a stone circle within dream time, like that could totally open you up into some pretty cool possibilities there. And again, we're here to talk more about that as we go, but it may not necessarily be totally today. Otherwise we'll be up all night, man. We have to Lacey has to go to sleep.
We could talk about
definitely
like ancient sites. Like stone circles are one of my most common dream themes. I go to them a lot, and they're fascinating portals, and they're there for a reason. So man, I don't know, like we do another dream discussion, and like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we could dive deep, like we could go pretty deep. So we
will. So quick note on that. Our next dream discussion circle, we'll let you guys know, but it'll be within 2 to 3 weeks from now. So if it's not before Christmas, then it'll be slightly after. And come the new year, our schedule is going to be a little bit different, and we'll keep you guys updated for that for all the members involved. Let's keep things passing around here, and then I just want to be able to let other people just kind of talk about like the dream symbolism and anything else that they feel inspired to share, and then we'll just get into the final closing prompt, and then we'll be done as soon as we can at the top of the hour. Thank you again, everyone, for being a part of this. Thank you to those of you in the YouTube chat. Love seeing the comments there. Who would like to be able to talk a little bit more about, Kristen, I know your phone's probably on its last leg. So Kristen, anything else you want to share? And even yeah, I can let us know the prompt and then we can get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Kristen. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like my offering of talking about dream symbolism is a bit more like emotional related, less like astral portally and stuff like that. But essentially, for just a brief amount of context, I recently had a breakup a few months ago with a partner I'd been with for 7.5 years, and it was like a really conscious breakup. We like knew that we'd just kind of run our course kind of thing, and we're both really good friends still, but we were living together while we were broken up, while we were sorting out some stuff. And everything was going really good. Our friendship actually really improved after we broke up, and there was no fighting or anything. It was just like, it's time. This is not where we're heading. But it was all good on paper. It was like some dream breakup. And when he had left, I had a dream that I was in a house and he was using the oven and set fire to all these cupboards by something that he left on. And I saw it and I was like, what did you do? And he's like, oh, I just left it on. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I can't really do anything about it because I'm about to move. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I was in that state of like dream indifference, you know, when you don't really have a strong emotional response to something that you usually would. And so I was just like, all right. And I walked over and there was like this little circle of people with one of my friends sitting. And she's like, what's going on? I was like, oh, I'm just like a bit stressed. Like, but I didn't feel stressed, but that was what I said in the dream. And she's like, oh, have you tried forgiveness? Just do this. Put your hands in a nesting position, put your left hand on top of your right hand and just sit them on your lap and just do 3 deep breaths in. And she was sitting in a circle of people like instructing forgiveness. And when I woke up, I was like, I didn't feel like I needed forgiveness. Like no one's done anything wrong. But I was like, and I was like contemplating forgiveness for the rest of the day and realized that what was happening was that I was having the emotional experience of just grief because of the changes, even though there wasn't like any anger in the partnership, but it was just like, it didn't mean it wasn't difficult. And overall, we'd been handling it on this really high vibration. But once he'd left, there was still the human part of me was just like, can we get some acknowledgement this is hard and forgive ourselves for like feeling vulnerable because we're not superheroes in this transition. And so the forgiveness was like, even though it didn't make sense to me in the dream, like triggered this like layer of thought and like compassion for myself that I was in a tough situation, even though overall was very resilient and happy about the whole thing. It was just like, oh, I can forgive the fact that this is hard, like just, and that he had part in this being hard, even though we both did. So yeah, that was one of my most recent dreams, and the symbolism kind of came to pass later and helped me kind of grow into softness with myself. And so that's just what I wanted to share about symbolism. And yeah, that often the symbolism for me is quite emotional. And I'll often not remember the whole dream, but I'll remember like flashes of a brick wall or a certain texture of objects. And I'm like, I'm blocking. I realize that there's blockages with certain things, or, you know, go down this road or this road, and there's, you know, it's a brick road or it's a tar road or it's a whatever, and reading into the symbolism of that, like there's difficulties along the way, or there's a blockage there. Yeah, bricks are something that I've used to come up a lot. They don't anymore. But yeah, I feel like the dream space, anything that you see and remember, like that you can just cling on to, is, yeah, you were meant to remember it, and it has some little layer of goodness that you can extract, even if it's just, yeah, the texture of a wall. Like, what does that mean? Why did your subconscious bring that in? Why did you notice it? So yeah, I like, they're all little keys. And even if they don't make sense, they're like telling your mind that you noticed it, can unlock subconscious stuff in the day, like later, even if you don't unlock it consciously. So you still kind of dance in the subconscious exploration of the dream when you're awake, even if you're not thinking about the dream specifically. And I think so much of the medicine of dreams is just in acknowledging they're there, just unlocks more abstract stuff, as well as the stuff that you get to consciously enjoy. So yeah, that's
It's very, very, very powerful and wise. Thank you, Kristen, for sharing. And I agree. Like that's a very important thing to be reminded of, is that often, again, like the dreams, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but like they can initiate the process of pondering. And so like how many of us have had those experiences where we go through some sort of dream, it may be visceral, it may be subtle, and then we find ourselves just kind of like thinking about certain things throughout the day as a result of it. And then within the process of that, that's just the energy naturally flowing. So, you know, in the same way, a good friend could come up to you and say like something very specific to you that's just like, oh, like suddenly that pointed my consciousness towards something that maybe I wasn't thinking about, or maybe I wasn't looking about, and maybe I should look into that. So, you know, again, it's kind of like the dreams, they're like this gentle helper at times, where they can just be like, hey, like, have you looked at this part of yourself? Maybe you need to send more love there. Maybe you need to be able to bring a little bit more consciousness there. And then you get like other dreams where like it literally just grabs us and it's just like, look at this, like pay attention and stuff like that. But again, you know, like what you did, Kristen, it's good because like as a student, you were aware of that, and then you begin to consciously it take that process of what the dream gave you and to do something with it. And that's where, as dream students, that's where we can kind of drop the ball, where the dream can give us something, but when we still have the free will to just be like, yeah, whatever, that's probably, you know, not important to me, and then we don't give it the importance, we let it go. And then even in that moment, you know, I always feel like our ancestors and our guides are just like, they're like, oh, like we gave them something so good and they just dropped it, like that was so close, and now we have to like do it again. So again, it's kind of like, if you don't get the lessons, you will repeat them. So when the dreams come through, how much can we allow ourselves to be conscious of whatever lesson that may be? Not even to fully know what the lesson is, but to just kind of like ponder with it. And then naturally, just, it's kind of like cooking, it will just kind of naturally arise out of the process of gently just kind of turning up the water, so to speak, and the ingredients of the dreams and the emotions just kind of boil something into fruition. Whatever metaphor, I guess, I don't know, cooking metaphor, sure, why not? But yeah, I think that's a very important thing to just be able to be reminded of. Kristen, thank you again, and I know you have to leave soon, so let us know if you're jumping out. And are you jumping out now, or do you think, yeah, save some battery for your phone? So, Kristen, any just closing thoughts? The last question that we have, and I'll just say this now because I know Kristen's leaving, and for anybody else, start thinking about this, and then we'll just wrap it up into one more pass around the circle. The last prompt is, what are your intentions for your ongoing dream practice? And it's also like, it's a two-parter. What can you do to develop your dream practice? So what are your intentions for your ongoing dream practice, and what can you do to develop your dream practice? So kind of like the intentions being kind of like the heart, the soul aspect of what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want out of your dreams? And not just from the egoic place, but like really from a deeper place of your heart. And then the second part of the question is like the practical, like what can you do? So, you know, this is literally a chance for you to create the accountability within yourself and be like, what do I need to do? You know, it's just like, oh, well, am I staying up late at night playing Zelda until 3 a.m. in the morning? Yeah, that might affect my dream process. Should I be getting to sleep at a better time and journaling in the morning? Absolutely. That's going to make a difference. So again, whatever the case may be to you. But Kristen, just before you go, if you just want to share on that, what are your intentions for your ongoing dream practice? What can you do to develop your dream practice? So whatever's on your heart.
Well, just be devoted to writing them down at least. Like it's just and unpacking what feels relevant in the moment, but also trusting that there's messages there. And I think it's just such an easy way to be plugged into like the mystery of life. And I think that that's really humbling and medicinal in all the ways that we do it. And like, you know, whether it's like any kind of altered state work, like whether it's meditation and like, you know, meditating at length and going into this altered states, these different brainwave states, it's all us. It's all like humanity, like layers, and the mystery is just not separate from us. And I think that, yeah, being devoted to self-exploration is just where my kind of intentions are with it. And getting emotional clarity and healing in areas that I can't like manhandle myself is another reason that I go into it. But yeah, my intentions are just to explore more and know that in that exploration that more medicine and clarity will come from just playing and, and adventuring, especially when I get back into lucid dreaming again. I feel like I haven't done it in so long, and now that I'm actively journeying like such, whether it be shadow work or emotional growth or like expansion or marrying polarities and that kind of thing in my psyche, that I can explore that through lucid experiences rather than just in the day-to-day. And I'm really intrigued about doing that. But I think the best way to deepen the practice is to just keep doing it, just to keep doing it and saying that it's valuable and that you remember it for a reason. And if you train yourself to remember it more, there's only going to be more potential for medicine to be extracted from dreams. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers both questions, but that's all I got.
Definitely does. Yeah, and I like the use of the word medicine in there. I again, it's just at the end of the day, what is our relationship with dreams? Are we giving them significance? Are we giving them attention? Are we respecting them? Are we honoring them? Are we just putting them aside and saying, whatever, I got better things to do? And at a different point in our life, the answer may be different, but again, just be able to return back to the place and be reminded that, be like, yes, the dreams are here for you to give you something. Are you open to being able to receive it? So yeah, no, it's very powerful. And honestly, just us having this conversation, you saying that now is literally like our ancestors kind of hearing that and being like, okay, like she's saying it, she's bringing it into fruition. Let's like give her something. So, even today, tomorrow, tonight, for any of us, as we go to sleep, just hold that in your heart and just kind of maybe even set an intention, be like, ancestors, guardians, guides, higher self, whatever the case may be, I am open to receiving, show me what I need to see, or something like that. Maybe create a little mantra about it, whatever the case. Try journaling before going to sleep, create a little ceremony. 5 more extra minutes before bed, not on your phone, just to really be able to fall asleep with intention can make a huge holographic difference. So Kristen, thank you again so much for joining in. Save some battery on your phone. And yeah, it was a pleasure having you here as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's so lovely. Love being involved. And if anyone has anything in response to what I said before, like I'm just probably going to tune in and watch the rest of this at another time when I'm not in a blackout. So yeah, I'm interested to see your responses and everything. But yeah, big love. Have a lovely night, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Kristen. And for everybody here, you guys can connect with Kristen on Instagram at Spiral Soul Seed. And Kristen, and for everybody here, reminder for those of you Patreon members, use the dream log in the Discord, like to the best of your ability, even if it's like taking a picture of your notepad in the morning. Use it, not just for yourself, but to also create like accountability within the community. So Kristen, thank you again. We'll see you around. Take care. All right, let's keep things moving around here. And again, you guys are welcome to just jump right into this last prompt. Let's get things wrapped up here. But we were talking a lot about like symbolism and stuff earlier. So if there's anything else we went over that you might want to be able to go back on, that's totally fine. But does anybody else want to be able to share anything just off their heart in the moment? Yeah, Lacey, go ahead, or maybe Helena first and then Lacey, if that's okay. We haven't heard from Helena, but yeah, so go ahead, Helena, and then we'll pass it over to Lacey.
Hey, yeah, I know, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it short. So symbolism wise, Lacey maybe has read this dream as well, but a fellow dreamer from dreamcatcher.net, Aluna, had a really cool symbolism dream where a dream character, I can't fully remember exactly what this dream character was doing, but they were being a nuisance of some kind, either being really annoying, aggressive, kind of following her around, not being considerate. And she confronted the dream character, was just like, what, who are you? What is the deal? And the dream character told her that she represented an overabundance of olive oil in her system. And it was like super kind of mundane in a way, but so super profound that her body was literally speaking to her through this dream character, telling her to stop eating so much olive oil. So I just thought I'd share that because that's like a super fascinating like moment that has always stuck with me. And then yeah, dream symbolism wise too, with Lacey speaking about things that she's never conceived of before, coming through in the dreams and then looking into it and realizing that's a real thing in the world. That has happened to me many times. And actually the most recent one Lacey was in, and it was really cool because it was an art studio that me and my husband had just moved into. and we had some really cool stuff going on. We do new media work, a lot of digital stuff. And we had this like big giant sculpture piece that literally had like this alien head inside of it. And it almost looked like a like arcade, like game, like pod that you would stand up and play. But instead it was just this like giant glowing alien head. And I have dreamed of like this exact being before, but at this time it was just its head. And it was almost like it was a holograph or a hologram. And I was like trying to access it and trying to like turn it on. And my friend Raphael, who's another artist, came into the studio with Lacey, and they sat down on this couch. A black dog came in and sat with them, and they were hanging out with this dog. And Lacey noticed that Raphael had this like contraption in his hand, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, all you have to do is press the button and think infrared. And I was like, oh shit, infrared. Okay. So I like pressed the button on this thing and thought about infrared. And then like all this infrared light surrounded this head. And then the head became like activated and awake. And I was like, okay, that was kind of basically the dream. And then I looked into it, and there's like this whole like practice of infrared light being used on people's heads. And it activating like the mitochondria and like creating more of the cells that the mitochondria energy, the energy created through mitochondria is stored in, as well as all kinds of other things. It's used for like sensing different areas of the brain and like what is going on in the brain. And so it was just really wild because I had no idea that people used infrared for seeing into people's heads, literally, and activating the mitochondria. And so it's really wild, you know, symbolic kind of thing that's like some real thing in the world that I had no idea that it was a thing. As far as like, I have tons of other dreams that are, you know, kind of symbolic in many other ways. But as far as like intentions for dreaming, keep having them. It's my intention to keep having them and keep appreciating them, witnessing them, learning from them, integrating and understanding them, and staying open to new layers that I've never even accessed yet. That's all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helena. It was wonderful being able to, again, just hearing all you had to share. Lacey, go ahead. I know you want to jump in or respond as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I love hearing that dream. It's so fascinating, and like the fact that there was the dog present too, it's just, it blows my mind. It's always cool to hear when other people are like, you kind of like pop up in their dreams and like the stuff that's going on. You're like, what? I wrote down that because I'm gonna Google that because that's really fascinating. Wow, it's just been so nice to have you. So thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you in the dream space. And definitely some of the stuff you said about continuing to have dreams, that would be great. Yeah, just open to receiving and exploring. And I like that, like going even deeper and seeing where they take us. So thanks so much, Helena. It's been lovely.
Awesome. Lacey, before you fall asleep, do you want to share your answers to that prompt, and then we'll just go around with anybody else, and then we'll be pretty much done at that point. So
yeah, so pretty much kind of started touching base with that, is that like I guess my intentions with dream time are just open to receiving what is meant for me, just continuing to deepen my practice. And I know that the best ways for me to do that would be de-stressing during my daily life. So taking time to be alone more, to be just Lacey and to go inward, because I know for me, in order for me to access those deeper realms, it requires my waking life so for there to be some type of practice where it's like I'm doing the inner work during the day, and I don't always get that opportunity, right? Like I'm quite busy, and when I do have downtime, it's just like there's usually some type of like animal or human. Someone is on me. I have one inside of me right now. So it's like hard to be alone. But I feel like in order for me to receive better, I need to listen to myself more. And I know that I need more alone time. So that I put on there. Moving the like stagnant energy in my body through like play or getting out in nature, I think will help me with my dream practice a little bit better. And clearing my energetic field, and that could be done through the same kind of method. But that also could do with like eating well and making sure that I'm hydrated and our home is clean and our space is clean, because that makes me feel really good in my mind. So a clear mind means that I'm going to have a direct link to that higher dimensional space. Yeah, and then I wrote, just honoring whatever comes in, like just being present with it and just not like forcing it too much, but simultaneously like doing the work. So yeah, here we go. That's it.
There we
Good
go.
night.
That's what it is. So, good night, Lacey. Good night. Good night. Good night. Yeah, if you're falling asleep, that's totally fine. We'll just get close to finishing it up, and then we'll be done here.
I'll wait till we're actually
okay. We're pretty much done. So again, I'll just pass around to anybody else, and then I'll just share a little bit before we wrap it up, and then we'll just do any closing gratitude. Anybody else? I know Kyle, Candice, Alicea, if you guys want to share. Feel free to, just like related to the last prompts. Again, the prompt being, what are your intentions for your ongoing dream practice? What can you do to develop your dream practice? And again, that prompt, I would encourage you guys to like continue to meditate on that, like think about it throughout the week. Like what are my intentions, right? Because I think depending on who the person is, their intentions for that could be sometimes like very kind of like fascination driven or almost like superficial, like some people could be like, whoa, like I heard about how if I can like master my dreams, I can become a millionaire, or I can like, like bang hot people and stuff, like, and race cars and have superpowers and stuff like it. Oh, like no doubt, like it can sound like a golden ticket to a lot of things. But I think again, like there's kind of like it's the dream space. It reminds me of kind of like that Egyptian metaphor of kind of like as you like enter into the afterworld where they weigh your heart. And so if you're just kind of like looking for the fascination, then maybe you'll see that, but it won't necessarily have the depth of substance that will nurture your soul. Whereas if you kind of relate to yourself and it's just like, like, what am I seeking? And this is me kind of answering. Like I am seeking to meet more of myself. I am seeking to deepen the connection between my heart, between my ancestors, between the universe. I am seeking to be able to, my intention for my dream practice is to be able to receive visions that will inspire me and to motivate me towards my actions of serving others. Those are parts of it. And yeah, to be able to really begin to kind of like step into more of my role as a cosmic ambassador, as a cosmic citizen, to literally like just putting it further down the road. If we're thinking to the potential, part of my intentions for within dreams would be to make contact, to make contact with OU, with other us's, with multidimensional beings. That would be kind of like where, like I would just say a part of it would be, without even getting so far ahead of myself. But I feel that again, like all of us, that's a question that I'll keep pondering. And I'm curious, like what, for any of us, like what is the potential for us as dreamers? If we were to like really just imagine, okay, like I'm showing up for it 6 months from now, what does that look like? Ask that question and just kind of imagine it. And it really opens you up to the possibility of like every night you can go to sleep and really just be able to have these like very powerful dreams, where you're leveling up and you're learning and your soul is growing, and then you're bringing it back into this reality, and it helps you grow here and develop as again kind of like a fully embodied awakened conscious being, who's active in both planes simultaneously at the same time. So again, it's a beautiful answer. That's it's a question that we live. So Candice, go ahead. We'll pass it over to you, and then we'll pass it over to Alicea as well.
I was gonna say, for me, for the dream, I'm gonna be more conscious to sit in a quiet space. Like for me, I would envision myself in the woods or something like that, and exploring with nature, and then just let the dream time part of me direct me to when it wants to uncover. That's me.
Beautiful. Very, very well said, Candice. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Oh, and it's 11:11 on the clock right now, here in Canada, Ontario. And yeah, one thing I would say just as a recommendation for people is, like begin creating almost like a Zen place within your mind that you can kind of enter into as you fall asleep. So maybe like before you fall asleep, like imagine creating like a scene where it's like, okay, there's like this nice little like temple gazebo. It's a beautiful sunny atmosphere. There's water, and just take yourself there, like kind of take yourself to like a central place. And then maybe from there, again, that can just kind of help with the relaxation process. And maybe that's where you're setting your intentions. And it's really powerful to begin, again, kind of like leveling up your imagination. And then that in itself begins to modify the abilities in which you can begin to steer the dreams. Within dreams, it's interesting because you are like the co-creator, like you are the captain of your ship as much as you are the ocean itself. So it's kind of like understanding and navigating both at the same time, which is very interesting. But you can learn to be able to navigate more within your dreams as much as you are riding the waves of the ocean as well. So if that makes sense. Alicea, go ahead. And then I'm not sure if Kyle's here, but then at that point, we'll pretty much be done. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for speaking about like this nighttime ritual, like make it a ritual, really honor this, like it's a ceremony before you go to bed. And I mean, I've written, you guys have prompted a lot of, inspiring ideals that I'm excited to implicate. But even you saying, picturing a serene place before you go to bed, it kind of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brian Scott's work. But I've listened to a lot of his like guided nighttime meditations, and something that a technique he often uses is to recap your day. And if, with the intention of traveling or, to higher dimensions, you have to get yourself to that vibration almost before you go to bed. So recapping your day, and if there's anything that you need to change, you change it and you envision that. So recap your whole day. Is there anything that that you want to change to make it the most, that you missed, but just recreating your day. So it's a way of like leaving it. So you don't have to hold on to that day anymore. You've recreated it before you've gone to bed. And now you can, release it and travel high. But yeah, for my intention, thank you so much for that prompt. My intention is really building a stronger relationship with my quantum self for more two-way communication. So, and you saying being open to receive, I think that's the biggest element, being open to receive these downloads and all this support that we have, being open to receive it, process it, and integrate it. So I can continue on this, learn, teach, learn journey that I'm on in Earth. How am I going to do that? I'm going to take some of the awesome advice or wisdom that I heard tonight, get a dream bubble book ASAP, and start, honoring. What do I need to do to honor my human vessel to get me to that, get me into these spaces? But, so all the components can kind of integrate my mind, my body, my soul, So dream journaling and trusting my recalls, trusting my higher self as a multidimensional person. So this element of trusting my recalls and honoring it more. But thank you so much for letting me share, guys. I love you all.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. It's been wonderful having you here and hearing your excitement as well. And again, we hope for everybody here that just by you listening to people talking about your dreams, that's just like, oh, this is getting me excited about doing it. And that's, again, what we want. We want you to be able to be a part of this discussion, and then to take this energy with you where it just recharges you. And then we go, and then we do the work, and then we come back, and then we got stories to be able to share as well. So super, super important to be able to have community. One thing I'll just say in terms of like, again, like how are we going to develop? I would encourage us to just kind of keep in mind, like, again, like finding rhythms and routine, very, very important for us, creating like mini rituals with our day, with our morning, with our evenings. And then like even thinking about like kind of like aligning with like the cycles of the moon can be another thing. Pay attention to that, you know? So it's like maybe like as the moon's becoming full, you're kind of like, you're aware of that. And you're just like knowing that as the moon becomes full, sometimes those energies can become like more primed to being able to access some of that dream space as well. So paying attention to some of like the solar cycles as well can also be relative for helping dive into some of the deeper energies that may be available. But yeah, Kyle, let's pass it over to you. Just again, with this last prompt, and what are your intentions for your ongoing dream practice, and what can you do to develop your dream practice? So again, just creating accountability for ourselves as we speak it into existence. Go ahead, Kyle.
I definitely want to travel more, and what Alicea was saying, like pay attention to your day and kind of unwind. Well, there's been times where I've done my breathing before I went to bed, and at first I don't really fall asleep as quick as I usually do, but the breathing puts me into that state where I'm in between for a long period of time. And when I'm in that space for like a while, my dreams are way more vivid, way more like I'm in there 100%. And I think that has to do with being able to ground yourself before falling asleep. And that the fact that you said that now, it's going to encourages me to do that more. And I'm definitely going to get a journal and put it beside my bed tonight, because forever I've just been waking up and, you know, in that first 15 minutes, like you said, just breathing and thinking about it. And it'd be nice to actually like write it down and get it on paper and have it more concrete that way. And yeah, I think I'm going to try to set an intention, like you're saying too, because I haven't really played with that. I've kind of just, my dreams are usually something like the first question you asked, I think, or whatever, is for me was like to accept and let go, to be able to like kind of like a mushroom trip, like you let go and doesn't matter what's happening, you're kind of just watching from an objective side or view. And because like a lot of my dreams when I'm watching, like it's like I'm in it, but I'm also watching it happen, and it could be scary things, but for me they're like adventurous and exciting, and everything's just happening and I don't feel scared. I don't feel like, it's just like I'm having a great time. And then when I wake up, I'm like, oh. So my intentions are definitely to be able to be more lucid in there and practice it more.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. What was that last part?
And then thanks for having me and
yeah.
circle.
Thank you as well, dude. Yeah, and again, you know, like even just going back to the word lucid, we think like it'd be like lucid dreaming, and we get excited about that word. But I mean, you know, like incorporate the concept of lucid like way before you become lucid, because lucidity is a state that we begin here within this reality, and lucidity is, again, you know, the process of being able to see more clearly. So just kind of invite in more of that lucid living state, and again, start getting more curious about the world around you. Start practicing meditation on outside of your dream practice. Like I've said this before, but this is really, really powerful. Like your dream practice for the evening begins the moment you wake up. So like the way you wake up throughout the day and the way you live your day literally prepares you for the dream practice at night. So, but at the same time, you know, I think it's also important to give ourselves a bit of a wax and wane, where there may be nights where it's just like, you know what, maybe I just need to like decompress and watch some Netflix and unplug and stuff like that. And then tomorrow I'm going to kind of like be more dialed in and everything. So it's going to be kind of like mix and match for both of us, but I think for any of us, but I do think it's important to kind of also be aware of our tendency to kind of lean towards what's easier. We lean towards comfort oftentimes, and oftentimes it's very easy to just be like, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to fall asleep late at night and surf my phone and stuff like that. Like pay attention to that, because those are the edges where we actually want to identify the little voice in our head that tries to convince us that practicing our dreams is actually not worth it. It's similar to the voice that basically when you sit down to meditate, there's a little voice inside of you that says, this is stupid, you're wasting your time, get up, you could be doing something else right now. Pay attention to that voice, and like that's the weight, that's like the what you want to be able to, that's the resistance that you're kind of like building against, and then you change your relationship with it and you begin to identify, and you actually begin to get excited of identifying those edges and then being able to consciously making a different decision. So let's get close to wrapping this up here. I know some of us, Helena just jumped off. Thank you again, Helena, for joining in. Thank you so much to those of you who have been tuned in to this live in the future. And yeah, again, you know, for any of us here, dream journal, meditation, tuning in for more of these broadcasts, having these discussions, anything else that we've said, it's all incredibly relative. And yeah, it's an ongoing journey that continues to unfold. And I know just us having these discussions is already like opening up some more possibilities. Our higher dimensional selves are getting very excited about the fact that we're having these discussions here tonight. So any closing gratitude before we wrap it up, feel free to just do that real quick.
My higher self loves it.
Thank you, Candice.
Loves
Happy to be able to have everybody here.
Loves the journey of the dream space.
Absolutely. It is a journey. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to connect with our dreams this way. So very special. Awesome. Anybody else just saying closing gratitude real quick, and then I'll stop the recording there. So Lacey, go for it. Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, Candice.
Yeah, happy to be here with all of you beautiful people who are on this super psychedelic journey of self-discovery, and I'm just stoked on life and dreaming with all of you. So thank you for being here, and I can't wait to hear how your dream practice goes the next time we get together. So mwah. Happy dreaming. As I'm like so tired right now, I'm like drunk.
I know, right? Yeah.
I get silly. But
there we go. See you in the Dream Hub. So Alicea, any closing thoughts? Thank you, Lacey.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for all the beautiful inspiration and like, you know, helping me put my puzzle together, this amazing giant puzzle. You guys are helping me bring in so many pieces. I'm eating it all up. I love it. So thank you so much. And I want to wish you all the sweetest dreams. And I have to tell Candice that I love your tagline. I'm like, it warms my heart when you say, that's me, you know, that's me. It literally warms my heart. So you got the best tagline, girl.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicea, and thank you, Candice and Lacey. And Kyle, any closing gratitude real quick, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, thank you for hosting, and thank you everybody for, you know, sharing your stories and inspiring me to work harder on this and then have some accountability.
That's a big part of it. So yeah, for everybody here, again, you know, it's up to us to kind of like step into that role of accountability, but we're here as a community to be able to help uphold that accountability for each other. So again, for those of you who are Patreon members, you know, come back here again, tune in again, continue your practice, and get excited about talking more about dreams, and write down your dreams. And if you want to share stuff to the Discord, we can always again do that together. And feel free to reach out to either Lacey or me through direct message if maybe there's like something related to dream stuff that you just want to be able to ask us about, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for being a part of this. We're ready to wrap it up. We're ready to go to sleep. All the links you need for all the creators featured in this are in the info for this video on YouTube. And again, for those of you on Spotify, thank you again. If you're not on Spotify, you can find it at Paradigm Shift Radio. And go ahead and check out the past recordings of Dream Class if you're eager for more dream-related discussions. And again, join the Patreon membership to be able to take part in future dream discussion circles that Lacey and I host. Again, they'll be every like 2 or 3 weeks, and you'll also get access to the pre-recorded ones that we have online. And yeah, that's about it. All the links you need are there. Click the links and join the Discord, etc. And yeah, happy dreaming, and thank you so much for being a part of this bigger shift in consciousness. We are the dream awakening to itself. So for everybody here, feel free to wave and say good night and happy dreaming, everyone. Good night, everyone. We love you guys.
Bye. I love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Much love.
All right.
All right. Okay. Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams.
Good night.